All right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Little oops here. We'll get underway real quick. That's why I keep my space. No. Good morning.
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to go ahead and call this Municipal Planning Commission meeting to order. The County of Newell, April 10th meeting. I'd like to welcome you all here. Excused from the meeting, we need a motion to excuse Councillor. Go ahead, Ellen.
I'll make that motion to excuse Holly Johnson.
Thank you. All in favor of the motion? That is carried. We have quite a gallery this morning, so I'd like to take a moment to have MPC introduce themselves, and then we'll send a mic around and have all our gallery introduce themselves as well. We'll start with Neil, if you will, please.
Good morning. My name's Neil Johnson. I'm the Councillor for Division 10.
Good morning. Amanda Philpott, around Duchess, Division 8.
Good morning. I'm Ellen Undra, and I represent the countryside around the village of Rosemary.
Hi, welcome. Greg Screever, Division 5, Lake New Resort and Castles area.
Hi again, I'm Kelly Chrisman, and I'm from the northwest side of the county, and I'll chair the MPC meeting.
Good morning, Arno Dirksen. I'm Division 9, the GEM area. Welcome.
Morning, Matt Fensky, CAO.
Good morning, Adina Scandrep, Division 2, the area around the hamlet of Tilly.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Dan Short from Division 1, Rolling Hills.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Division 3, Lynette. My name is Lynette Kopp, and that's the Patricia Millicent area.
Catherine Siakla, Communications Officer.
Cheryl Page, Planning and Development Administrative Assistant.
Hello, Shanna Lee Simpson, Development Officer.
Hello, I'm Maria Jackson, Supervisor of Planning and Development.
Hi, I'm Jeff Tiffin. I'm with the Planning, Development, and Engineering Department.
Guy and Cora Johnson from Rosemary.
Kathy Raymer, Duchess. Bert and Ricky Kuiper from just outside of Brooks.
Morning, Cam Christensen, Alberta Landsphere.
Andy Grossfield, Duchess.
Roy Grossfield, Duchess. Dennis Martin, Duchess.
Great, thank you, and welcome to you all. We have an agenda in front of us. The first item would be the minutes from our March 20th Municipal Planning Commission. How do you wish to handle them? Lynette?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of that motion? That is carried. We have an agenda. Are there any post-agenda items to add? Seeing none, a motion to accept the agenda as circulated. Adina, thank you. All in favor of that motion? That is carried. Development permits, 6.1 on our agenda. Go ahead, Shannalee. Thank you.
Thank you. This application is for the construction of a dwelling with a secondary suite internal. The proposed development will be the second dwelling on the parcel and the allowed secondary suite. The applicants would like 1,000 square feet of the secondary suite to be on the main level of the home, and it's going to be used for family. There are currently 2 manufactured homes on the parcel, which will both be removed upon occupancy of the proposed dwelling. There's a cottage on the parcel that was permitted as a bed and breakfast, but it is being used as a dwelling and will remain on the parcel. We had no issues or concerns from staff. We had no response from adjacent landowners. The Dutchess IDP was contacted. They have no issues or concerns. We're recommending approval with conditions, and Mrs. Raymer is here to respond to questions.
Thank you, Shanalee. Mrs. Raymer, would you like to add anything to your application?
Pardon me?
Oh, would you like to add anything?
No.
Okay. Are there questions either of staff or of Mrs. Raymer from MPC? Adina.
I was just wondering, once the house is built, will the cottage remain being used as a residence, or will it be back to being used as a cottage?
Immediately, it'll be used as a resident. My sons are both coming back to the farm and will be taking it over, and one son is in it right now, but it isn't forever, so I can't promise you forever that it will be a residence.
Lynette.
Just a reminder as to what our policy is about removing the other dwellings. Do we have something where we actually do go back and make sure that those things do happen in a timely fashion?
That would be staff. Yeah, Shanalee?
We would count on our assessment, because their assessment goes out, and the tax assessor will let us know that they are removed. We don't generally go out to the parcel to check that they have been removed.
So, having said that, it is part of the application, so that could be a condition of approval if MPC so chose. It's not in the conditions presently, but if that is something that, that is part of the proposal. So if that's Shanalee?
So I do have on the conditions for F that the existing residents be removed within 24 months. Okay. So I guess it would just be direction to staff if you'd like us to go out to these parcels to physically make sure that it's been removed in 24 months.
Okay, so it is there. Thank you. Arno.
Ready for motion?
I sure am.
I move that we approve this as directed and recommended by staff. It complies with the municipal development plan and the land use bylaw, so I don't see any reason why we wouldn't.
Option 1.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Any further questions? I'll call the question. All in favor of Arno's motion to approve? That is carried then. Thank you for coming in, Mrs. Raymer. 6.2 on our agenda. Shanalee.
Thank you. Development permit 2025020 is for the construction of an addition to be used as a mudroom entryway for a single-family dwelling. In the industrial general district of the land use bylaw, an addition to a dwelling is not a permitted or discretionary use. The dwelling is legal non-conforming, which does not comply with the land use bylaw. However, the Municipal Planning Commission may consider the proposed development if it doesn't interfere with the use and enjoyment of other parcels in the neighborhood. The dwelling was constructed in 1973, according to the assessment records, and the first land use bylaws dated 1990. There is also an accessory building on the parcel that was installed in approximately 1976. The applicants would like to construct an addition to be used as an entryway, as the existing dwelling allows snow to gather in the entryway and not allowing access or unsafe access to the dwelling. There was no issues with the Brooks IDP. There was no response from adjacent landowners. There was no issues with staff. We are recommending approval with conditions, and Mrs. Kuiper is here to answer questions.
Thank you, Shannalee. Just one item on the RFD. I would suggest that it's probably Division 10.
Okay.
Rather than 7, okay? Good morning, Mrs. Kuiper. Is there anything you'd like to add to your application before I call for questions?
Shannalee did an excellent job of explaining.
All right, thank you. Questions for Mrs. Kuiper on this application? No? How would you like to handle the application? Greg?
I'd like to make the motion to approve.
Okay,
As per option 1.
thank you. Seeing no other hands, all in favor of Greg's motion? That is carried then. No questions. Thank you so much for coming in. We really appreciate it. Sometimes we have questions and nobody here to answer them, so. Moving along to 7.1. Subdivisions. Is that Maria this morning?
That's me. Thank you. This first subdivision application is to subdivide 2 parcels from a public utility lot in Patricia, one being 0.18 acres and the other portion being 0.56 acres. The county owns parcels of land between this public utility lot and Willow Street that will be sold and consolidated with the adjacent lands. To do this, the PUL will need to be subdivided and included in the consolidation. There are no services in the public utility lot, and therefore the land is not required for those purposes. A right-of-way will be created for the EID drain that runs along Willow Street. There were no objections or concerns received from adjacent landowners or required referrals. The standard conditions that all property taxes be paid, that easements or utilities be registered concurrently with the subdivision. And reserve is not applicable as the lands to be subdivided are less than 0.8 hectares. So it is recommended that MPC approve this subdivision with conditions.
Thank you, Maria. Any questions on this application, Dan?
Is there any risk that we're handcuffing ourselves for future developments and utility right-of-ways?
Maria?
I think there's the opportunity to utilize the new road allowance if required, but we've been in discussions with municipal services, and so I think that's been thought through, and I think this is the best route forward.
Okay. How do you wish to move forward, Dan?
Then, I'd motion that we approve this as recommended.
Okay. Any other questions? Ellen?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if this was a request by the adjacent landowners that this is going to be subdivided and consolidated with the neighbors?
Maria?
It's been a administrative project to figure out what to do with some of these county-owned parcels to reduce liability and clean things up. So this is part of that project. So I don't know if you can see my cursor, but these 2 parcels here are owned by the county, which really have no use to the county. Also this dugout area here. So subdividing and consolidating these parcels with this parcel will just clean things up. It will make everything a little bit more functional within the hamlet.
Good. Any other questions? We have a motion to approve. All in favor of that motion? That is carried. Moving along, 7.2.
Okay, thank you. This subdivision is to subdivide 19.31 acres from the southwest of 15, 2014. The subdivision would contain a farmstead and a waste management storage site. This is located north of Highway 544, close to Dutchess. The applicant is proposing to separate the ag land from the developed portion. So the waste management storage site is used to store non-hazardous waste from a hydrovac operation, and they obtained a development permit prior to that operation. They only deal with clean soil that is supplied by one company. There is a dwelling and several accessory buildings on the proposed parcels. The buildings meet the required setbacks of the land use bylaw with the exception of the decorative elevator, which would require MPC to grant a variance of 8.7 meters to the setback. And there's also a water reservoir that has been constructed 18.2 meters closer to Range Road 143 than allowable in the land use bylaw, and it also encroaches onto an EID right-of-way. The subdivision is adjacent to Highway 544. Access to the proposed subdivision and the remnant parcel are both from the Range Road. There are 2 confined feeding operations within 1.6 kilometers of the proposed subdivision. So the intention is to sell the agricultural land and keep the house and business. The applicant has indicated that the water reservoir was constructed by the EID. The EID used the fill for the canal rehabilitation. The county has performed recent drainage work in the area that should lead to improved road conditions. However, it has not been tested to ensure the work was effective. A review of the Alberta wetland inventory indicates there are no wetlands present, and environmentally and historically significant areas are not applicable. The application was circulated to the NRCB. Subdivision applications fall outside of the jurisdiction of AOPA. However, they request the county consider proposed subdivisions that they take into account their proximity to relative to confined feeding operations. There were no concerns raised by Alberta Transportation, Alberta Health Services, TELUS, Fortis, or ATCO. There was a letter submitted by an adjacent landowner. They wanted to ensure that MPC was aware that the irrigation pump for the pivot is housed inside the decorative grain elevator. And Municipal Services indicated concerns with the location of the dugout adjacent to the road. Conditions to be considered would be that all outstanding property taxes be paid, that easements or agreements be registered concurrently with the subdivision, and if required, that the applicant enter into a development agreement with the county. Municipal reserve is not applicable as this is the first parcel out of the quarter section, and it is recommended that MPC approve the subdivision with conditions.
Thank you, Maria. I have an emergency. Okay. Good luck. Mr. Johnson needs to be excused from the meeting. Could I call for a motion to excuse Neil from the meeting? Dan, thank you. All in favor of that motion? That is carried. Back to our agenda item. Questions on this application? It's hard to pick up after that. Lynette?
I almost have no words.
Okay.
The property lines being all over the place and none of them straight, like how, I would really like to know why. Like you can't even fence that because it's circles, and I would really like to hear the thought process.
And we would be disappointed if you didn't ask that question, Lynette. So, sir, if you could speak to that question, it is This is an extreme one that we've seen. Cam had a lot of fun building this one, didn't he?
Could I
We
add
worked
one?
Cam very hard, that's
Could
for
I
sure.
add one more thing to this?
Okay, with modern farms and irrigation
Just a sec, sir. I'll
Can I
let
add one more
Lynette-
thing? Like when we're considering any of these kinds of applications, we need to think into the future. So now can you respond to my question, please?
Okay, well, I'll do my best to answer them. Actually, the guy that's buying the land off me, that wood fence that is sitting right behind me, so he could also tell you a few things. Modern irrigation systems are designed to be circular. Pivots always run in circles. Corner systems turn around everything. Basically, big machinery has a hard time doing 90 degrees. Our sprayers are 120 feet wide. Drills are 60 feet wide. Floaters throw 100 feet. So we do everything in a circle and basically set the yard up so that the machinery can do gentle turns and not have to go into 90-degree turns and smash crop down. So we've always farmed in a circle since pivots have rolled in.
Sir, I'll just get you to address the chair, okay?
Okay, sorry.
Thank you, that's okay. You'll get questions from different directions, but it comes to the chair, okay?
Okay.
Lynette, did you get an answer that you're comfortable with?
Some of those curves make that kind of sense, and
Yep.
some of them do not to me.
Okay. So the shape is the concern.
Yeah,
and-
the well pads are built in circles too. If we squared them off, we would lose farmland that Dennis could farm because everything would be eliminated. If we squared everything up, we'd lose some farmable land.
Mhm. Okay. Greg?
Hi, Roy. Hi. Okay, the green space, I guess up top there where it cuts in and then along the road and then, yeah, what is that there?
That is a hydrovac pit that is already 90% built.
Okay, hydrovac pit, so that would be for?
For badger hydrovacs.
Okay, okay, and that would remain as part of the farmland?
No, that has been subdivided out or will be. The pivot cannot get to that. The equipment cannot get in there. It's just too narrow of an area to get equipment in. So we squared everything up there.
I'm going to question you on your answer. It looks like it's part of the farmland, sir.
It used to be. And then 2 years ago, we dug a pit there.
Yes. Maria.
Sorry, I'll maybe just to clarify. So this portion here, this used to be just green space. This green space here is intended, to be with
That's
it.
still there, yeah. I'm sorry, I got the wrong
No,
thing.
that's okay. So what's proposed to be subdivided out is the residential portion, which is here along the Range Road. And then the waste management facility is over here on the east corner. And then this is a well site here, which is why that's that circular shape, I suppose, because that goes with the teardrop that goes around that well site. So that's the intention of this subdivision, just for explanation.
And then there's another rounded area to the right of that well site. Is that another?
That's a journey pad.
A turning pad.
Journey Energy.
Thank you.
It's well sites.
Okay. It's one of your best creations, Cam, I have to say.
And there was very little
I've looked at your work
complaining.
for many years, and this is quite an artist. Go ahead, Greg, and then Ellen.
Yeah, I still have the question about that. The end and date. That's not where it goes along the road right there.
Yeah, that's dry land that the pivot can't reach that Dennis is going to farm.
So he's going to farm that,
Yes, that's gonna be farmed.
even though, and I guess for Lynette's point, you would like to feel that should be straightened off, but it is farmable land.
Yeah, we would lose about 5 acres if we straightened that out.
Okay.
It's good land.
Thank you.
Ellen?
The more farmland we can keep, the better it is, as far as I'm concerned. the dugout, whereabouts is that located?
That is in the top left corner. Maria's showing you that.
Can you see my?
And does staff have an issue with that, being that close to the road? Has it always been this close, obviously, to the road?
It was dug when the canal was built by horses, so it's been there a long time.
Adina.
Any plans to fill in the dugout?
It's a pretty big hole. It's 250 feet by 300 feet, and Badger uses that to supply the water to their hydrovacs too. And I use it for my irrigation for my yard. That's where I get my water.
So probably no chance of that then.
It would take a lot of dirt. That's a big hole.
Okay. Dan.
The biggest pressing issue for me is the irrigation pump is on the separate property. What's the plan for handling that one?
Well, the plan of that is we've got a rider in with a contract telling Dennis that we will always supply him water, and it will not be a problem. And we've been friends with Dennis for years, so.
And we appreciate that,
Yeah.
and good for you to be able to work with your neighbors today.
Yeah.
We've had dealings and experiences over the years when the land changes ownership,
Yeah.
whether you move on, sir, or the farmers move on. That is a concern.
Yeah, there are also 2 other sites that he can get water from and tie in if he wanted to move the pump.
I see. Okay. Maria.
I think that it would be reasonable to require an easement from the pump to the agricultural land, and generally the EID ensures that that is there so that there is legal access to any EID water source.
Greg.
With the idea that the easement's always on title, and that if there is ever a change in ownership, that easement would always remain there.
That's correct. An easement can only be removed if both parties are in agreement.
Absolutely.
Sorry about that. I just asked if Roy would be amendable to that, and he agreed to that, so that could be an addition. Ellen?
I'll move to approve this application.
As amended? Okay. Any other questions? Staff? Questions or comments? Okay, all in favor of Ellen's motion? That is carried. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for your patience.
We probably wouldn't have got through that one without you here.
Oh, well,
so
thank you.
Your time was well spent this morning. Thank you. Cam, I'd like to say keep up the good work, but you deliver what your customers ask for. We appreciate that. Good point. Thank you for coming in as well, Cam. All right. The last item on our agenda, 7.3. Maria.
Thank you. This proposed subdivision is in Division 7, 3 kilometers northeast of Rosemary. The application is to subdivide 90.14 acres from the northeast of 182115, separating the irrigated farmland from the remainder of the parcel. The proposed subdivision, oh, I already said that part. Access to both parcels is from Range Road 155. There is no physical access to the proposed subdivision. An easement for access or the creation of direct physical access should be considered. There is a house with an attached carport and several outbuildings located on the property. All development appears to meet the setbacks of the land use bylaw or are considered legal non-conforming. There is a noted wetland present on the farmland parcel. There are no environmentally or historically significant areas within either parcel, and there are no abandoned wells on the quarter section. The application was circulated to internal departments. Municipal Services expressed concern with the ability to create physical access to the proposed subdivision. There were no concerns raised by adjacent landowners and no objections from required referral agencies. Conditions to be considered are that all outstanding property taxes be paid, any easements or utility right-of-ways be registered concurrently with the subdivision, that the applicant enters into a development agreement with the county if required, and that an easement for legal access across the southeast of 18 for the benefit of the newly created parcel be established. A copy of the signed easement agreement is required by the county prior to finalization. Reserve is not applicable as the lands to be subdivided are 16 hectares or more and are being used for agricultural purposes. And the recommendation is that the subdivision be approved with conditions.
Okay, thank you, Maria. Mr. Johnson, please join us. Welcome.
Hello.
Are there any questions on this application? Seems fairly straightforward. Lynette?
Not really a question, but a comment. I love that you didn't follow the creek with the property line. This was awesome. I'd like to make a motion to approve with conditions.
Great, thank you. Any other comments, questions? All in favor of Lynette's motion? That is carried. Off easy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming in this morning. We have no other business that I'm aware of. We had no post-agenda items. Is there a reason to go in camera? Seeing none. Any information items anyone would like to share? Any questions in the queue, Catherine? Nothing. I'll adjourn the meeting.
Sorry. Sorry, yeah, yeah. Okay, we took a little more than 5 minutes. I'm going to call this meeting to order. We have two people excused from the meeting, Neil and Holly Johnson. If someone would make a motion to excuse them from the meeting. Lynette, all in favor, please indicate. That is carried. We have the minutes of the March 20th meeting have been circulated. Are there any errors or omissions, or a motion to approve them as circulated? Amanda, please.
I'll make a motion to approve as circulated.
Thank you. All in favor, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. Call for post-agenda items, and then a motion to adopt the agenda. Kelly, go ahead.
I'd like to add a discussion regarding FCM. I'm not sure where you would like to put that, maybe.
Let's
Okay.
put it under 11.2.
11.2, thank you. And then I would like to make a motion to approve as amended the agenda.
Okay, thank you. All in favor, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. Are there any questions or notices of motion? Anything on the electronic media, Catherine? Seeing none, let's move to item number 10, municipal services business. And we have 10.1. Cole Steinley is here with the NRCS report. Welcome, Cole. If you'd take the mic there. Thanks for coming in today. Excuse me.
Thank you very much, Reeve and councillors. I'll start off by giving an update on the Lake Newell Resort lift station upgrade. I had a chance to talk with Mark this morning at length about this. We've selected an electrical contractor, but unfortunately, because of the time spread between gathering all 4 quotes that we received on it, they're going to have to be sent out just to get a price update so that we comply with the county's purchasing process. So what we're doing right now as we speak, we're going to just go to touch base with the 3 local contractors. I think we've omitted having Flight Xylem from putting in another bid because they just didn't want to meet the scope of the project, what we were looking for. So due to the fact that they are local, we should be able to have it in a couple weeks, up-to-date pricing, and then select the one that we would like, because we've already gone through the actual bids and picked the one that we like. So hopefully that process will be fairly quick and we'll be able to go ahead with that. And like I've noted here as well, the fabrication for the new stainless steel piping is ongoing. It is with another local company, TCB Manufacturing, and so they're quite busy, so they're trying to get that done here in the next little while. So hopefully those 2 pieces or components of the lift station upgrade should be able to go here in the spring and be done this construction season and have everything the way we want it by the end of the year. In talking with Jeff, Lambourne Environmental will begin with the Tilly Lagoon desludging project here in the next little while. We've had Brooks Asphalt working on repairs to the rural sampling and flushing hydrants throughout the county. This is pretty normal. Sometimes they fail to operate due to mechanical issues. There's over 400 of them scattered throughout the county. This is how we meet regulatory requirements, by doing sampling testing through these hydrants and being able to flush to maintain residual. So they're an integral part of the system, and some of them fail over time, and we just require that Brooks Asphalt go out there and do the repairs on them. So yeah, we've kind of gave them a list over the winter of which ones were inoperable, and they slowly go around and repair the ones that we've identified. So that process is ongoing. And we plan on doing the Hamlet distribution system flushing and the sewer lift station cleanouts this spring, as we normally do, spring and fall. So that's normal year-to-year preventative maintenance stuff that we're going to be doing here in the next coming couple weeks. The County and Newell Water Project, Excalibur is still working on their portion of Phase 3, slowly but surely. Ryan went out and kind of watched them do a hot tap the other day, so they are progressing. We have no idea of, they're so far past when they were supposed to be done, we don't know when they are going to, but they are progressing, so that's a good sign. Phase 4 is, Syncor has started in the Scandi area, so they're progressing with that as well. That's the extent of my report. If there's any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
Thanks, Cole. Are there questions? Go ahead, Kelly, please.
Morning. My question is around flushing of the hydrants. How invasive is that on the landscape when they flush? Is it, I know in town we have pavement or had pavement, and so it didn't wash away any vegetation or, you know, it was very easy to take. But what about flushing out in the prairie?
So my question for you would be is how familiar are you with that infrastructure? Have you seen one of those yard flushing hydrants before?
Probably not.
Okay.
I'm thinking of your big plants with the fence around them, but maybe not.
No, so a yard hydrant just, it comes up, it's got a handle on it that you can open up and then you flush the water out of it, but it's sitting in a big kind of culvert that's full of washed rock so that the water will go down in there and
okay.
But in the areas that we are, some, like I said, there's 400 plus of them scattered throughout the county. Some of them in such isolated areas that it doesn't much matter, and it doesn't come out at high pressure or huge volumes. So the erosion usually isn't a big factor at all. It's not like we're opening up a fire hydrant in a community where huge amounts of water at high pressures that will cut and erode anything that it hits. We usually put a garden hose on it. We'll throw it in some vegetation, and it'll actually help water whatever's in that area. So that's usually not an issue at all.
Okay, thanks, Cole. Are there any other questions? Lynette, go ahead, please.
Maybe put you on the spot a little bit, but we've been talking about invasive species. Is there any thoughts from your perspective as to what that might do to your operations if we were to ever have that happen here?
Specifically, quagga or zebra mussels, I guess, huh?
So the zebra mussels, that would definitely pose a problem for us in a lot of things that we do. Not specifically more for the rural water project stuff, but more of our intake at Lake Newell Resort and stuff like that. So we would have to, worst case scenario, and it became a huge problem in Lake Newell, and we're seeing large amounts of zebra mussels and growth in our intake structures, it would require either chemical or physical mechanical cleaning of intake structures and stuff like that. So it definitely would be an added cost, and it would cause the cost of water to go up to deal with it, plain and simple.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, thanks for coming in this morning.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Good morning, Mark, and welcome.
Good morning. Here with the monthly report, highlight a few things. Unfortunately, our colleagues over at BAPS are full, so that has an impact on our bylaw enforcement of dogs at large. So we can't take custody of dogs. We have nowhere to put them ourselves with the requirements that have to go with that. So if anybody is calling in with respect to dogs, it's being handled as we can. Anything related to a dangerous or aggressive dog is obviously still going to be responded to by the department and or the RCMP. So if you're looking for a pet to adopt, now's the time to get in there to help us out too, because we need some more shelter space. With that, Tabor Police Service is also, we continue working with them to get our records management system with our bylaw and enforcement services changed over. The monitoring service is already in place with them, so that's going rather well. And the other one is we do have our RCMP talk channels through the AFRAX radios active and working. So great to see all of that come together after we spoke with K Division last year and whatnot at RMA Fall Conference. We're in the season of changeover. We may or may not get more of the white stuff. If it comes, it'll be heavy, wet stuff that mostly impacts our roads, but tending to everything and anything that we can with that. I just want to take some time to remind council, in winter, our grader operators cannot always see exactly what is underneath built up accumulated snow on road shoulders. This is the season where we get some phone calls. Some of you may get some phone calls of why is the gravel in my ditch, or why did the sod get peeled off and rolled into my ditch? I'll politely remind council it is a County of Newell asset. It is our ditches for our operations. We appreciate, we do our best to respect those residents that care to upkeep and maintain the roadside ditch. If we have x-ray goggles or something we can buy for our operators so they don't hit that dirt clump and roll it in the ditch, is that the investment you want? You know where I'm going with it. We do our best. It's not intended. It's not intentional. They do their best to absolutely do it, but it's going to happen. It's a fact of operating. So any questions you get with that, that's the response, and it happens. Additionally, operations, graders, we did 19 days of tree cutting in the month of March, 1 day of snow removal in the process of transitioning to summer grading. The dust is rolling off the roads, but that does not mean that the frost is out of the roads yet. Soft spots are starting to show up, so we are tickling the surface of the road, trying to get the washboard out of there and make safe passage for motorists without breaking too much of that, because if we break too much of the surface, we could cause more problems for ourselves than necessary. This is my annual reminder of what we're doing, and just ask for everybody's patience in that season of change. We're also bringing back DK blading services to sit with 5 of our grader operators and get a couple of our newer ones further along with their education and operations, and a couple others just getting refreshed and making sure that we're on the right track of continuous improvement and delivering grading services to our ratepayers. Stockpiling, 84% complete. We're a little bit beyond that since preparation of the report, but that's in a very good place for us. Biggest thing coming is dust abatement program application is open, so make sure you hit the window that the last business day of April is when the subsidized rate applies for residential properties. After that, we move to the full rate. People have been coming in and getting that done. And for our councillors with Hamlet's, Hamlet street sweeping is scheduled for the first week of May. It's always how it's planned. We'd like to fast track, but that means deferring other work until later. So if we stick to the plan, it just works best for operations. What else can I say? I'll speak a little bit more to rural water projects. So phase 2 contract 3. MPE continues to supervise the work. It's well documented, very well detailed as to what's remaining. There are less than 19 tie-ins to be done, so curb stops are in place with the line coming out. They just need to fuse it to the main line, and then they have to do all of the pressure testing, the chlorination, all that sort of testing. And when we can award substantial completion to things, we'll be able to therefore then issue letters to the residents to say they can come in and now get their flow emitters to be active. So we're getting there. To reiterate what Cole said, progress is being made. We're going to get there. This is no time to talk about pulling contracts or things. It's not warranted. It's not necessary. Quality workmanship is there. There's no questions about that. It's just the timeliness of work getting done. So it's being managed. Lake Newell Resort, blocks 1 and 4, there was an open house. We had about 36 people attend. I'm not going to say 36 unique households because there were some couples that came in the door, but one of the better attended open houses that I can say in my 23, 24 years of municipal government, because I do remember sitting around a room by myself with 24 donuts staring me in the eye. Didn't contribute to my health in any way, but it was great to see so many people come out and get engaged and understand early on, rather than when the equipment shows up go, I didn't know anything about this, because it was publicly advertised. The people were very well aware of it. There will be a second open house once more details are known about who the contractor is, what the scheduling is, so that everybody can be brought up to speed. So that was great. Onboarding of the engineering supervisor, you met at the last council meeting. Onboarding of the general administrative assistant, there will be an introduction to council today if you have not already met Amanda and spoke to Amanda over the phone or at the front counter, but you should have saw her face this morning if you were coming through the counter. Policy amendments are continuing to be worked on and presented to council. And of course, we had spring convention that I attended up there with several of you. So that's my highlights for the report.
Thank you, Mark. Are there any questions? Ellen, please, and then...
Just to clarify, is it on? Contract 3, is that also the Rosemary area, or is that contract 2 still?
I'm unsure, and I should have come prepared for that, Ellen. I can't remember who all's in what boundary of things. I think it does have portions of Rosemary, though.
Yeah.
So you said another 19 tie-ins, so that could take some significant time yet?
They're doing about 3 per day.
3 per day?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's no estimate as to when, I get some phone calls, when they can hook up?
Mid-May is what we anticipate is going to be there, so.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Lynette, go ahead, please.
Just on dust abatement. If someone gets dust abatement 1 year, it's going to get graded up this coming year. Like if they would have done it last year, it will get graded up this year. If there's still enough product there and they wanted to hold it over, is that a thing? Or do you have to pay for the dust abatement every year?
Dust abatement gets graded based on the road hazards present. So if it's all potholed out, it will get graded for motorist safety. Otherwise, our operators are recommended to leave it alone. It is not intentionally just graded up because you didn't apply this year.
Okay, thank you. That's good information. Kelly, go ahead.
I had the fortunate favor of hearing from an acreage person who has a cat problem. Do we have a referral organization, either Calgary or Medicine Hat, that may help us with, or help them? I would just like to provide them a phone number and a name.
I can't remember the Southern Alberta. They were the group that got brought forward to talk to Bantry Bay if there was an interest, and it was more
That's
to
right.
come in and do neutering and stuff. I can't remember what it's called though.
Southern Medicine.
I'll just leave it with you, and maybe you can touch base with me.
Okay.
I promised that I would mention it. I know it's not on our radar to trap cats or to regulate cat population.
Okay, thanks. Other questions? Okay. Where are my comb? No. Thanks, Mark. Let's have, is there a motion to approve Mark's, the municipal director's report? Greg, please.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Okay, thank you. All in favor, please indicate. Thank you. Thank you, Mark.
Are we continuing?
Let's go on to
policies.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, here today to also present policy updates or review. The 2 policies being presented to you today, I have no changes recommended. I'll highlight that the drainage with the County EID joint partnership projects, the joint meeting between EID board, County Council, there was decision to continue as is with everything, so no recommended change to that policy. And then in the past, we've had farmers approach us or egg producers approach us about draining of farmland, so improving their land. There are some conditions attached to that with wetlands and temporary water diversion and whatnot with Alberta Environment. Our policy seems to be working. We don't get too many requests, so I don't have any recommended change for council with this either. So looking for your approval on them as presented.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Any questions, or let's take the first one first, the county EID joint projects. Any questions or a motion to approve the policy as presented? Adina, please.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Okay, thank you. All in favor, please indicate. That's carried. And similarly with the farm field drainage policy, no changes. So any questions or a motion to approve? Go ahead, Adina.
I will make that motion as well.
Thank you. All in favor, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that. Should we go
get that? We can get our auditor up there, Darren, from Avail.
Yeah, okay. It being just after 11 o'clock, I will invite our auditor, Darren Adamson. Welcome. You've come to join us today, and Stephanie. Thanks for coming in. Maybe we should do introductions if that's useful for you. I think we've met a few times already, but we'll start with Amanda over there.
Good morning, Amanda Philpott, Division 8, around Dutchess.
Good morning, Ellen Unra, around the village of Rosemary, Division 7.
Hi, welcome. Greg Screever, Division 5.
Morning, Darren. Division 6 around the northwest side of the county.
Arno Dirksen, Reeve of the County, and representative for Division 9 around Gem.
Nice to see you. Nice to see a real short management letter as well. So,
Good morning, Adina Scandrip, Division 2.
Dan Short from Division 1 Rolling Hills.
Good morning, Lynette Kopp, Patricia Millicent area.
Catherine Siakla, Communications Officer.
Ariana Nielsen, Executive Assistant.
Sandra Stanway, Brooks Bulletin.
Hi, good morning. Is it on? Yeah, so I'm Darren Adamson, partner with Avail CPA. We've done this a few years now, so you kind of know how I like to roll. And so I've got a presentation prepared. I think you might have already had a chance to look through it. So I'm just planning on hitting the highlights. I'm not going to go through all the details. I know that you do get your monthly reports. So did you want me to just dive right in?
Yeah, sure. Welcome, and thanks for coming in, and look forward to your summary. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Questions, yeah.
So what I plan to cover is the highlights of the audit, basically. So I'll cover a little bit of the auditor's report, financial results, and just the highlights. A couple of the notes to the statements that I wanted to highlight. As you know, each year we do some 5-year trend graphs, and we call them indicators of financial condition. So I've selected a few of those to go through as well. The management letter, as CAO mentioned, it was nice and short, so I put on their option to go in camera, although that probably won't be necessary given that we don't actually have any recommendations this year. And then our post-audit letter, which is kind of our audit findings letter, or things that we need to communicate to the council if we find them. So our auditor's report, basically, I do have one error on my report here, but so the top bullet there, it's a clean auditor's opinion. If you look through I don't even know if we sent the auditor's report on the draft copy of the statements that we sent, but if you look at the standard report that we've had on there in previous years, it is a clean auditor's opinion. So in our opinion, after all the audit work that we've done, we feel that the financial statements do fairly represent the results of operations of the county. The second bullet there, I should have deleted. That was last year's point that we had an emphasis of matter paragraph for the first year adoption of the asset retirement obligations. So that was done in the previous year. And you carried it forward this year. There were no issues, no problems. So that should have come out of there. That was my error. The auditor's report does point out that it's management's responsibility for the financial statements. Council's one of their responsibilities is to oversee management and approve the statements. As auditors, we're responsible for doing our audit, which includes assessing the different risk areas, understanding your controls, evaluating your policies and estimates, concluding on the going concern assumption, which would indicate that you are a going concern and will continue in operations for the foreseeable future, and I don't have any concerns whatsoever there. And evaluating the presentation of the financial statements. So Stephanie prepares the statements, we go through, audit it. Sometimes we'll have amendments that we'll ask her to make, or she'll agree that we can make. And then once she's happy with them, and I'm assuming they go to Matt as well to review, then they come to you now for formal review and approval. So getting into the highlights, just starting some of the numbers. So I've just kind of broken it up into pieces so we can kind of all be on the same page. So if we just look at operational revenues first, basically we went from 41.4 million to 44.6 million, so up about 3.2 million over the prior year and 4.4 million over budget. So a couple of the areas that increased, property taxes are up about 768,000, which was mostly budgeted for, so obviously each year where those are going to depend on your budget. So that's not unexpected. Investment income was up about 2.8 million and was about 3.3 million over budget, so we did well on the investment side. And then in the other revenue line category, we went from 1.5 million to 1.2, so we're down slightly, but still over budget, and that was largely due to the wildfire work that was done. There was more last year than this year, but still there was some again this year. So that's kind of what I thought were the highlights on the revenues. The expenses went from 31.2 million to 32.6, so up about 1.4 million, but 2.6 million under budget. So when I looked through, I didn't see a whole lot of major changes year over year. The one thing that did go up was the road, streets, and walks, which is up by about $1 million or so. When I looked through why that was, it was increased amortization, increased railway crossing repairs, fuel prices were up. Salaries kind of affected a lot of different areas a little bit with cost of living adjustments. But that line item is under budget by not quite $1 million. And I think it's just in repair areas that were budgeted for that the projects didn't happen. Otherwise, there's not a whole lot of highlights that I noticed in the expense category. I mean, I could get into some of the mini details if you wanted, but I think that's kind of the main highlight that I was thinking of. So if we go down to annual surplus before the undernoted, and the undernoted is basically the capital revenues. So this year we have a $12 million surplus. Last year was $10 million, so we're up not quite $2 million. Revenues were up 7.8% or 3.2 million. Expenses were up 4.5%, so revenues were up higher on a higher percentage basis. So overall, yeah, a nice improvement in the operational surplus of about 1.8 million. And then when we move down, we bring in the government transfers for capital projects. So this year 8.3 million, or about 8.4, and last year about 7.6. So this year you had over 15 million of tangible capital asset additions, and 8.4 of that was funded by grants. The rest was funded through reserves or through internal operations. And it's pretty comparable to last year's, although last year your capital additions were just under 18 million, so quite a lot going on both years. And I'll get into a little bit more about what those additions were in a minute. So annual surplus, 20 million once we bring in our capital revenues, and a total accumulated surplus since the beginning of the county of 362 million, basically. And if we look at, oh, I was thinking I was going to the, so if we go to the financial, to the statement of financial position, we see so the way this is laid out again is we go financial assets, which are assets that are financial in nature, so they're either cash or be used, converted into cash or used up in the next year. We minus out our liabilities, by the mouse, to get to our net financial asset position, and then we add in later our non-financial assets to get to total accumulated surplus. So there is an emerging issue of financial statement presentation. In 3 years' time, the presentation of this schedule will change, or is proposed to be changed. So, but for now, this is how it's laid out. So financial assets, 161 million compared to last year's 146 million. So up about 15 million for 3 reasons, basically. Cash is up 6.5 million or so. There is a statement of cash flow in the financial statements that shows the county generated about 27 million from operations, including the surplus and then backing out the non-cash items. Spent about 15 million of that on capital assets and invested about 5 million in your investment, your long-term investments. So it's still cash improved by, or increased by about 6.5. Accounts receivables, trade and other receivables here went from about 8.9 to 12.2, so up about 3.3 million or so. And that's largely due to grants that are receivable this year. This year is 5.4 million of grants receivable for different projects, and last year there was less than, there was about 750,000. So that's money that's due to the county that you'll collect, either you've collected it by now or it'll be collected in the next year, presumably. And then the other big change is in investments. So investments did improve about 5 million as well. So overall, 15.3 million improvement in financial assets. Liabilities went up a little bit, about 1.3 million. Almost all of that is due to unearned revenue. Went from 789 to over 2 million. So up about 1.2 million. And most of that is due to one energy company prepaying their property tax. So about 1.1 million of taxes that are prepaid for the next fiscal year. There's other items in there as well. So there's a note that shows when we receive grants for specific purposes and they're not spent by year end, we defer the revenue and bring it into revenue in the next fiscal year. So there's some of that as well, but most of that is fairly comparable to last year. So, and again, I think the other liabilities are, I don't really have a lot to highlight. They are all listed out of the notes, so the notes of the financial statements do provide really good information, so I don't want to just kind of regurgitate what's in there. So that brings us to our net financial asset position, about 149 million. Under public sector accounting standards, this is one of the indicators we look to see the health of the organization. Do you have enough money to pay your bills as they come due? And yes, the county is in good financial position, so no concerns whatsoever that way. So and then we move into our non-financial assets. Prepaid expenses, the biggest number, of course, is tangible capital assets, went from 203 to almost 210 million. So what happened there was we had over 15 million of additions this year, and then we amortized about 8.3. So we amortized the assets over their estimated useful life. So it's always an estimate at it's not 100% accurate, but it's the best we can do. The $15 million of additions, the couple of the biggest projects were the County Annual Water Project. Phase 2 was 8.2 million, and the Regional Pathway was about 1.3 million. So that's the majority of the additions. So once those are brought in, inventory for consumption is largely gravel. That brings us back to our same 362 million of total accumulated surplus. And it seems like a pretty big surplus, and it is nice and healthy. Note 11 to the statements breaks down the surplus. So here's the total 362 million. It's broken down into 3 categories. Unrestricted, 14 million, that can be spent on or used for whatever it's needed for. Equity and capital assets, 206 million, that's already been spent on capital assets. So you have the service potential of the assets. We can't spend that money again, it's already spent, but we have the assets as equity. And then we have another 142 million that's been set aside in restricted reserves to use by county, by CAO, for specific purposes. And those would all be listed out in the notes to the statements as well. So again, that's up about 20 million in total because we had a $20 million surplus this year. And then one last note to look at that I've chosen, and that's just the expenses by object rather than by department. So same expenses, 32.6 million, just broken down differently. So if we look at the biggest expense usually is salaries, wages, and benefits. It's up 560,000 over last year, which is about 6%. So kind of right in line with what we'd expect. So cost of living adjustments are in there. I know there was a new position for a grader operator, and I'm sure there was a little different mix of staffing as well, but right in line with what we'd expect, a little bit under budget. Materials, goods, and supplies is up about 500,000 as well, with increased bridge materials, repairs and maintenance, again, fuel costs. We're under budget there with not as much gravel as budgeted. And then amortization is up as well with the capital asset additions in the last couple of years. Those are starting to be amortized now, so amortization expense increases accordingly. So again, same expenses, just looking at them a little different way. That's kind of what I wanted to highlight for the financial statements. I also have the indicators of financial condition, but I'm not sure if you want to do questions now for the financials and then go ahead with those, or if I should just plow ahead and then do questions at the end.
Thanks, Darren. Are there questions now, or do you want to carry on? Go ahead, Greg. Yeah.
Yeah, I just have one question on the salaries, wages, and benefits. Went up by 6%. With the budget, are we estimating enough? Is it going to be more than 6%? Is it going to be 6% again this year? And I'm wondering if we're light on the budget as far as that goes.
Matt, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I'll take that. We budget purposefully tight on our salaries, wages, and benefits, so we don't leave a lot of room for administration to monkey around there. So, you know, cost of living, we've been around 2%. We've had a few new full-time equivalents budgeted, but weren't actually filled. So the one example I'll use is the engineering supervisor, which we carried in budget for a year, but actually didn't populate that position until just recently. So the answer is, yeah, we're tight on salaries, wages, and benefits, and that is purposeful.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Any other questions? Let's move on, and there might be some questions that come back to this, but I think carry on, and we'll yeah.
Perfect.
Thank
So I
you.
know that management in their annual report, they do some graphs as well. We also do what we call indicators of financial condition. That's what it's called in the handbook. So what we do is we're able to go on the provincial website and download all the information from all the different municipalities that have reported their information in previous years. And we compare you to all of municipalities in Alberta, all the county/MDs in Alberta, and when we say total, they're comparables of same type. These are the ones that I kind of compare you to the most, and this is counties and MDs with a similar population size. So we've set it to plus or minus 25% population. So when we do that, we end up with 14 plus County of Newell, so 15 total in our population. So when we look at some of the graphs, and I think I've sent the entire report to Stephanie, I'm not sure if you've got that or not, but these are just some selected ones that I've chosen to kind of highlight. So this first one is, so I guess if we look at the different colored lines, the blue line is County of Newell, and it goes to the current year because we have your information. The other lines all stopped last year because that information is what's been reported, and then next year we'll be able to roll that forward 1 year. I like to compare you most to the green line, which is the comparable county population size. So I think that's the most useful one to compare to usually. So this first graph is looking at your total financial assets compared to your liabilities on a ratio basis. You have about 13-to-1 ratio, and that's improved from a 9-to-1 ratio a few years ago, and you can see it's better than your peers, so that indicates that County of Newell has a strong financial position. This next graph we're looking at is comparing operating expenses to the taxable assessment. And so this year you had 32.6 million of total operating expenses, and you can see how that's trended over the last 5 years. And we're comparing that to the taxable assessment, so the assessed values of all the properties in the county. And that's kind of our proxy for how's the overall economy doing. So if the line is flat, that would indicate that your expenses are perfectly in line with what the economy is doing. And you can see the county's line is pretty flat over the 5-year period. It went down a little bit and then back up, and this year it's basically the same as last year. So overall, the trend to me looks like your expenses are pretty in sync with the economy. This next one is just looking at your long-term debt and how it compares to what your revenues are. So the county does not have a lot of long-term debt. So right now, your scheduled payments for principal and interest next year are about $238,000. You had $44 million of revenues this year, so you're paying less than 1% of your revenues to cover long-term debt payments. A lot of municipalities, I see that percentage is quite a bit higher. So county is doing well on that score as well. Another indicator we look at is the own source revenue, comparing that to the economy or the taxable assessment. So your own source revenues, we take the revenues of the county that are generated by the county and not transfers from the province or the federal government. So we exclude the transfers and say what can the county generate on its own without help from other government levels. And so you had $44 million of revenues, again, taxable assessment. So you can see your trend line there. So your revenues, our own source revenues are slightly increasing. So again, a nice good score, very comparable to the comparable county MDs. So right in line with the expectations. This next one is looking at your total accumulated surplus that's available for future use. So when we looked at the schedule that showed the total accumulated surplus, and there was net assets invested in capital assets, if we exclude those and we say what's actually expendable in the future, the restricted reserves and the unrestricted net assets, we have about $156 million of our surplus that's available to spend on future projects and future needs. And again, that's trending upward and a nice comparison to the comparables. So again, another indicator that the county's doing well financially. And then we have our management letter that, whoops. Again, I just mentioned earlier in the presentation that we do a management letter each year. And so some of the audit work that we do testing of all the different transactional systems, your revenues, your expenses, your payroll. We do testing from the initiation of the transaction all the way through to the end, make sure that it's approved properly, make sure there's a proper paper trail, make sure it's recorded properly in the accounts. And lots of times some of our clients have several, sometimes pages of recommendations. You guys, the county has a very strong system of processes and controls, so we don't actually have any recommendations. So thank you to Stephanie and her team for, that makes our audit easier, obviously. So thank you so much. And then we also have our post-audit letter, our audit findings letter. So there are a lot of things we are, as auditors, we're required to communicate to council or those charged with governance if we find them. So we didn't find any illegal acts or fraud. We do certain procedures to kind of address that, and we didn't find any. We didn't have any disagreements with management or particular difficulties with the audit. If we find anything, we just discuss it and come to a conclusion, and there's always cooperation. So we didn't have any particular difficulties this year. There is a note to the financial statements that points out the emerging issues. So last year, there was several different emerging issues, or the last couple of years, some changes in the public sector accounting standards. There were some of those that were implemented this year that really didn't affect the county. But there's some that are coming up in 3 years. The one is conceptual framework for financial reporting. So when there's a new standard or when we're trying to interpret what the standard means and how to apply it to the county, for example, we'd look to the conceptual framework for that. I don't think that's really going to affect us much, but it is going to change a little bit. And then the financial statement presentation one is the one that I'm actually looking forward to. That one, they're going to change the way that the financial statements look a little bit. again, we're still 3 years out, so I don't want to get too much into the details there, but that is what I thought were the items worthy of highlight, so.
Well, thank you, Daryl. I think that's a good report, and credit to Stephanie and Matt and the team here to, I think we maybe take it for granted, but we shouldn't, and appreciate the fact that we've got a clean report, and appreciate your effort and also the effort of our staff on a regular basis to keep things in order, and that's can't say enough about that, really. Just a question, and there may be others too, but is there an area, and you didn't identify anything of concern, but if there was an area where we would maybe be vulnerable, what do you, is there any anything we should not watch for, but where would it, in your assessment of our situation, it's obviously good, but is there an area there where we might be more vulnerable than others, or particularly vulnerable?
I can't think of anything unique to the county of Newell that you would be vulnerable for, that from our audit work, that's different than other municipalities. So just your basic, doing your risk analysis and seeing what could go wrong going forward. And I know that's something that administration would do. So I honestly can't think of anything unique to the county.
I suppose potential provincial legislative changes that would impact our revenue sources might be an area that we've identified or paid attention to, but it seems to be kind of finding its way, leveling off a little bit too, I think, eh? So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And we don't know what's going to happen with provincial grants going forward, whether they're going to continue or not, and the capital grants as well. But when we looked at your financial statements, county is in good financial position right now, so you would be able to weather some of that for a period of time for sure. So
right, yeah, thank you. Any other questions that anybody have? Greg, go ahead, please.
I know that our investment income may take a hit this year with the state of the world economy and how things are happening with the tariffs and everything. I notice our investment income is set at 2.3, almost 2.4 million. Probably still real conservative with respect to where we would expect that. And if we did have a decline, in your opinion, would that really affect us in a big way? Will we be seeing any losses, or is most of our investments in guaranteed type of bond activity?
Yeah, I would have to double check this, but I'm pretty sure that either all or a majority of your investments are in bond portfolios. So if they are held to maturity, like right now, the fair value is under cost. If you look at the notes of the statements, it does show that you have an unrealized loss. But if you hold those investments to maturity, you will get your full amount. So I don't think you're invested in equities. So the stock market itself is very volatile, as we know right now. But I don't think, and you can correct me on that if I'm wrong, but that's what I'm pretty sure is the case.
Yeah. Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, and council will notice as we move on to approve 2025 budget, we have increased the estimated revenue for 2025 to around that 2.8, which is still conservative. We've had really good investment advisors who are on the task of crystallizing gains when they present themselves and avoiding crystallizing losses. There is not too much sexy stuff you can do with municipal investment funds, so it is largely in principal protected notes, GICs, provincial bonds, along those lines. So it's relatively boring investment instruments, but our investment advisors have worked some magic and had some luck in 2024 to our ratepayers' advantage.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Any other questions?
Then a motion to approve the financial.
Yeah, seeing none, a motion to approve the financial report as presented.
Yeah, I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, thank you. All in favor, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Darren. Thanks for coming in again, and Stephanie, so thank you very much. Yeah.
You're welcome. Just one little housekeeping item. Just now that it's been approved, I'll go back to the office, sign off the file, send it to my administration. She will send Reeve, Deputy Reeve, CAO, and Controller. Each of you will get an email from Right Signature. So watch for those. As soon as you each sign, then everything will be finalized and posted on the portal for management to grab all the final documents. So watch for those. Those aren't spam. That is an actual email that you should be expecting. Probably, she's pretty backed up right now, so probably like Tuesday-ish, Tuesday, Wednesday next week.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Thanks again.
Thanks, Sarah.
Okay. Where are we at? Pardon me?
11:30, more or less, yeah.
Are we scheduled? Oh, bylaw, yeah.
Yeah.
Fire bylaw.
I told Holly we could just go for second today, to give her a chance when they bring it back for third in 2 weeks.
Okay. Okay, let's move to item number 7. Just a sec, have I got that right?
7.1?
Yeah, 7.1, Fire Bylaw 2089-25. Says for second and third reading. I'm going to suggest that we just take second reading today, but welcome, Stuart.
Good morning, Reeve and Council. Thank you very much for having me today to do the second reading of Fire Bylaw 2089-25. It's a significant step towards enhancing our safety and improving the response protocols throughout the County of Newell. The bylaw affects a collective commitment to fire safety and well-being of our residents. Following the first reading, a public consultation process was initiated to engage the residents and gather feedback, and I'd like to give you a little bit of information on that. So we had a couple things that were done. We had some phone calls that came in. We had a resident come in person and have a conversation with me, and then we had an online survey as well that was done. So the three biggest concerns that came out from this was fireworks and permitting. There exists a varied perspective within the community regarding the permitting process of fireworks. While some members support it, the stricter regulations, others are opposed to the requirement for that permit. Burn barrels and special exemptions to non-growth hamlets. The topic of burn barrels has surfaced again, promoting renewal conversation about special expectations of those non-growth areas, and I've put some supporting document with your package today on other hamlets from the past that we've dealt with and had approved, in particular Rolling Hills, where they have a complete ban on fire burn barrels within their area. And then the resources for required burn sites, and that also came up in my fire chief's meeting last night, where we talked about, having water supply on site, having fires 100% extinguished by the time we get to sunset, and things like that. A couple notable things on the online survey. There were 4 questions, or 5 questions, and the top 5 questions were an equal split, 33.3% right across on yes, no, and neutral. And our 5th question, are there any, sorry about this, I gotta find that 5th question. The 5th question, do you have concerns about the new planning and preparation requirements for controlled burns? That came back with a resounding 66% saying they had no concerns at all with the proposed Schedule C that I've set into the document, and 33% saying yes, they did have concerns with that area. The one thing that we did recognize, just because it's come up a few times, and with the fire chiefs, and we might want to recommend a variance or an amendment to the bylaw is Article 1.2 and 2.2 to reword it to read, "No burning is to be conducted between sunset and sunrise," rather than saying 100% extinguished. The other one is Article 1.5, reword it to say, "Ensure compliance with condition-specific measures specified by the fire guardian at the time of issuing the permit, which may include having water, appropriate tools, and equipment present to extinguish any spot fires that may occur." By changing the wording on these two, it's saying we don't have to have our fire 100% extinguished if it's smoldering and it's a big burn pile. I see it a lot through the county of Newell where we have a little bit of a glow happening at night because we have stumps that are still smoldering and things like that within a fire. We've even allowed from having big bale fires that have occurred, and they're very hard to extinguish, so it's just better to let them burn overnight. So I think by changing that wording in 1.2 and 2.2 helps us give a little bit of leeway to the residents and the owners to be in control of what they're going to do, as long as they keep what they're doing in control during that sunset to sunrise event. And then, of course, 1.5 with the whole issue of water. You know, there's definitely times when we have snow on the ground, we're well below zero, it's raining out, that is it really required to have adequate water supply present, as it says in the fire permit as well as in Schedule C. So by changing that wording, it gives the owners a little bit of leeway on what they feel is necessary to be on scene, but still gives them the warning that they're still responsible to keep that under control and not have it get away from them. With that, the recommendation is that council grant the second reading of the fire bylaw as it is amended for today. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Stuart. Are there questions? Question? Go ahead, Ellen.
Yeah, just to clarify, so when people have a small pit fire, if you will, is it still necessary to cover it while they're sitting around the campfire? Because we don't, obviously when there's a big burn, we don't ask people to cover that because it's impossible, right? So I'm just wondering, if you sit around a campfire and you want to add some wood, then you have to pick up a really hot cover. So is that still in the bylaw, that needs to be covered while you're sitting around it?
Yes, it still is in the bylaw, and I firmly stand behind that it needs to be there. And it's not necessarily while people are sitting there enjoying their fire, but what if people walk away, it's a little bit unattended and they're not paying attention. It's designed a lot like a burn barrel, where when you put that screen on there, it's a spark arrestor, and it stops all those sparks from floating into the air and landing somewhere where we don't want it to and catching on fire. So that's the purpose of having that screen on top, and it's not designed to be a heavy metal screen that's hard to remove. It's something that I've even seen that is on a swivel, and you take your hot dog roaster and just grab it with that and spin it around, or pick it up and things like that. It's not designed to be cumbersome, and it's not designed to impede enjoying what you're doing. It's a safety factor to make sure everything stays contained within that fire pit.
Okay, for the follow-up, or does that satisfy your concern?
Not really. I thought that there has to be water anyhow close by, right? Is that not in the bylaw? So when the water is there, and it's not supposed to be unattended, so I'm thinking that should cover it. So you're not supposed to walk away from a fire, right?
Sorry, you shouldn't, no. So,
I guess I struggle with us creating bylaws that create a situation where people are offside as per their standard practice. Fully support the notion that you have to manage whatever kind of fire you have, whether it's a burn barrel or a fire pit for cooking. But I struggle with us putting wording into these that would create a situation where people are offside and contravening the bylaw just from things that they would normally do, but still adhering to the responsibility of being responsible for that fire and managing it properly. Because, I think we're creating a situation that we'll never get to zero risk. It's not ensuring that nothing can happen, it's reducing the risk of catastrophe. And I really look for us including that kind of wording in rather than the suggestion that we are getting to zero risk, let's say. But Kelly, go ahead.
I'm going back to Ellen's question as well. So does that put our campgrounds offside? We have the grates on our fire pits, but they certainly are not screens. So you use the word screen here. That is different than a grate. That's a concern. If it's okay in the campground, why isn't it okay at home or at some other location?
That's a very valid point. And I do see that even in our provincial campground sites, that it is just a grid barbecue, their food on, and things like that. So it is a valid point. And truly, I was just coming from a safety perspective of trying to keep it contained in its fire pit. At the end of the day, if that one thing were removed, do we still have enough safeties in place? And do we have enough in the bylaw to say that that person needs to be responsible for that campfire while it's burning? I think absolutely we do. And it's definitely not something to hang my hat on that says we need to keep it in there. I would be willing to do what council's direction is with regards to that, and at the end of the day, it's really up to that person running that fire pit, which alludes to what about Reeve Dirksen alludes to, right, of trying to create such a regulation that it handcuffs people, and I agree with that. There has to be some freedom to use your own smarts and ability.
Okay, good, thanks. Go ahead, Kelly.
So the approach that this bylaw takes is one of enforcement. Why can't we take it from a different approach, like you just said, of putting the onus and the responsibility clearly stated on the property owner or the fire builder, however you want to, I mean, insurance-wise, it would be the property owner, but making it the responsibility of us rather than your responsibility, because that's what this says. This says that you can come out, or your agent, it clearly identifies people who can come out and direct the property owner that their screen is not large enough, their sparks are too large, the water flow is not, you know what I'm saying? So I think the approach could be managed.
Thanks, Kelly. Stuart, and then Matt, you've got a comment?
I think one point to remember, when I made the bylaw, it definitely wasn't to do that. A lot of my research went into past bylaws as well as provincial standards to the fireworks, which is a federal standard that's in this bylaw. So I wasn't just trying to create my thumb on, or the fire service's thumb on everything that happens within the county of Newell. I really did research and looked at what the province suggests and offers for us to do, and I included that in the bylaw.
Okay, thanks, Stuart. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, and I think one important angle for councillors to keep in mind is all of our bylaws are on a feedback basis. I was going to use the word complaint, right? So if feedback comes in from the community, from a neighbor who's observing their other neighbor who might not be as commonsensical as we would expect, you will want the provisions in the bylaw for your fire chief, bylaw officers to take action. If you don't have any teeth in the bylaw, there's not much sense having a bylaw in the first place. Sensitive to not over-regulating, but at the same time, common sense, depending who's sitting around the fire. I know when I was maybe a younger grasshopper in my teenage years, I might not have been as smart with my fire smarts. So I think we do want to make sure we've got the provisions built into the bylaw that if enforcement needs to happen, that those tools are there for us.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Go ahead.
Yeah, if I just make one more point, the online survey, it was only 6 people, so it really wasn't a lot to base off of. But at the end of the day, that 5th question, are we okay with the Schedule C, which is those regulations that are set in place on how big a burn pile should be, how far away from, structures and things like that. The consensus, at least for the 66%, was that they agreed that it was okay. So I think that's one point to remember, keeping in mind it was a very small catch of people.
Yeah, I would say with just 6 responses, we shouldn't hang our hat on that too much, because the other alternative is we go out and get people to start responding, and then all of a sudden we're going to have, I think the operative word, and I think you referred to it a few minutes ago, is that you're responsible when you have a fire. Can things go wrong? Yes, they can go wrong, but you're responsible, and I appreciate, and I understood you to say that with regard to overnight, you're not going to start a fire at night, but you're going to let it burn out overnight or a series of nights if that's what it takes, depending on the fire, and that still leaves the responsibility with the fire owner. But I think to say that there won't be heat in the fire overnight, that puts people offside. I can't accept that. I just don't think we should be going there. I think we can identify the fact, and I appreciate the wording that says when you start a fire, you're responsible to ensure that it's controlled, and depending on the circumstances, there's various things that you need to do to manage that. But I think that's the wording we need to look for going forward, because that does ensure people's responsibility. Because and I'm going to refer to this. I just noticed, on 7.3, and this is a for instance, to ensure that burn barrel fires do not spread to other combustible materials, the placement and operation of burn barrels are required to comply with the standards outlined in Schedule C. Now, I don't want to go into all the details of that, but I would like wording to reduce the risk would be better, because just because you follow all those, whatever the outline is in Schedule C still doesn't ensure that. It reduces the risk, and that's what we're trying. We're trying to manage risk with this, right? There's no ironclad situation really in anything we do, right? It always is a matter of balancing that, and I'm concerned that we create a situation that would just, if we were actually going to achieve it, we'd just be growing our bureaucracy to something that's unmanageable. And I know that's not our intent, but we just need to manage how we communicate this so that it communicates still the local responsibility, the personal responsibility from people who use fire, right? Sorry, were there other questions or comments? Amanda, please.
I actually have one from Holly, and she's asking, could we ask if we should make burning barrels not allowed in growth hamlets, but allowed in smaller hamlets.
Yeah, that was one thing that came up through a telephone conversation or an email. I can't remember which one it was now, but it did come up that could a non-growth hamlet have a burn barrel in it, and at the end of the day, I think there was a comment about fireworks in the online survey, which I think is relatable to the burn barrels, where when you have a small hamlet of just a bunch of trailers together, should that be considered as well for burn barrels, as well as the issue is the environmental issue plus the impact to your neighbor of smelling whatever is burning, to the chemicals that may be coming out of there, because if we look back to history, refuse and garbage burns things that are truly in that prohibited debris side of things, and that's why burn barrels have slowly been going away. So to have a farmer say he can't have a burn barrel, maybe that's different, but a hamlet where you have even an acre land and you have a burn barrel on there, the risk of your neighbor sharing that smell and unnicety is not I don't think a great idea. And even on non-growth hamlets, they seem to be fairly close together.
Okay, thanks. So I'd like to refer to 7.4, which is the fireworks again. I would prefer that we find a way to differentiate between, and I don't know if this is a thing, but let's call it family fireworks, or that we recognize that people can do that. They're still always responsible, regardless of the size of the operation or the display. Whoever's undertaking it is still responsible to do it safely. But the way this is written, even are there still firecrackers? I don't know. When I was a kid, there were firecrackers, and it bothers me that we would be suggesting that people are contravening our fire bylaw if they light a firecracker safely. If they do it with risk, that's a problem, or in an area where it poses additional risk. But I think you can do that without a fire permit, without threatening the safety of our region, can't we?
I would tend to agree with that, because in Schedule C, where we set out, and I actually have listed the different style of fireworks that are there, and the distances that need to be there, and that's in accordance with the federal handbook on distances for fireworks. Because we have all that stuff set out and laid out in Schedule 3C, is it really necessary to be permitted? And that was one thing that we've chatted about since we created the bylaw, and I would not be opposed to removing that portion of that, because at the end of the day, people are responsible, need to be responsible. We set in a set of conditions in Schedule C that show how it should be set up, and if they don't follow them, then we still have repercussion to go back on that owner for not being diligent and safe while doing those fireworks. So, and just to clarify on the fireworks, there are two different styles. You have your recreational home fireworks, or you have your commercial fireworks. Yeah. Your commercial fireworks needs to be permitted, and that's through an agency, and then they come to me to actually get me to sign off on those fireworks. The recreational fireworks, there is no permitting in place for it from a bigger regulatory group, and truly the reason I wanted it was so that my fire guardians or fire chiefs knew when fireworks were going off in their area as a information piece, not trying to regulate and thumb on knowing where everybody is and what they're doing all the time. So it was just more to be aware that something was happening in that area during that time period.
And I guess I'm speaking, thanks, Stuart. I'm speaking to some of this partly because it's the framework of personal responsibility and good communication that I'd like us to see us achieve through this. But if the wording is such that it looks like we're regulating all this and that because of that there's no risk, that would be a mistake. And I also haven't studied this to say this is how it should say, but I'm asking if is it reasonable to rework some of this so that the matter of personal responsibility is core to all of this and expected, and also the I'm going to say courtesy of knowing who our local fire officials are and communicating when there are situations that would create alarm because of smoke or lights or something like that. Is there a way of it sounds to me like we're kind of on the same page, but it's just a matter of how we say this, because I think it really would matter to people. Maybe not this, or if we've only had 6 responses, that's not enough to hang our hat on. But I think we want to write this in a way that brings people along, not says, you're trying to control everything that we do. And so.
And I agree with what you're saying. We are saying the same thing. I'm saying permit for information for our fire guardians, and you're saying, is there a way to notify to let our fire guardians know that something is happening?
Yeah.
So, I guess trying to find that balance is difficult, because then we would have to put something in the bylaw that says to phone in when you're going to do a firework or something like that, and then is that going to be also construed as we're trying to regulate what they're doing and things like that, because that's not what we're trying to do. We're just trying to be informed when something happens. So it's definitely something I can look back to see if there's a way we can reword it in a way that hopefully would make residents comfortable to call in and say that they were just having recreational fireworks. We do have a few that actually do come in on a yearly basis, and we do have a permit that's kind of made out, just so we know where they're burning at the time, right, and what they're doing. So, yeah.
I think that's a good if we can find that balance, because I just really resist creating bylaws that make our residents offside with the bylaw or basically doing something that's illegal in the county when it really doesn't necessarily pose a risk if they're responsible, right? So thanks, Stuart. Dan, go ahead.
A couple of things. One, I just applied for a fire permit not long ago. I didn't use it because the wind, as you guys may have noticed lately, it's been ridiculous. Getting a fire permit is absurdly easy here. It takes all of like 2 minutes to fill out a permit, and you get an email back. If I had to get a permit to fire off even just recreational fireworks, it takes nothing. Speaking to that from a firefighter side of things, it sure is handy to know when something is happening. You give you the heads up, and you get that report, and you're like, yeah, we know what's going on, don't worry about it. So having that information coming in at a time is fantastic. The other one is, you had mentioned how to ensure. I just read through all of the Section C provisions for burn barrels. If you were actually following all of those and still had a fire get away, like I don't know how you possibly could. That's a pretty exhaustive list of things that you can do. Are we all going to follow those to the T every time? Absolutely not. No one's going to stand there. You're going to go and get something for sure. But if you leave your fire, then something happens while you're gone, well, that's your fault. You weren't there watching it. So you didn't do everything to ensure that it didn't get away. Can it still get away? I suppose potentially. But if you were following all this list, I don't know how it could get away from you. But requiring a fire permit, I think that's a very low threshold considering how easy it is in this county to get a fire permit.
But, I mean, to really ensure that then we don't need a fire service, because there'll never be a fire that's out of control, and we know that happens. And it's an accident when it does. So that's that's how this goes, I think. I think we just need to be balanced in how we view all this. Go ahead.
Just maybe in conclusion, we appreciate the comments that have been provided. What I would suggest we do is we come back with further revisions to this prior to second reading being granted during the next council meeting. I think what we'll do is we'll revisit Article 7.3 and 7.4 within the bylaw itself. Also take a look at Schedule A, the requirement for screens on the fire pits, the recreational fire pits, and then changes to Schedule C that focus on the burning after dark and the requirement for water. We'll massage those and come back with some wording that is a little more in alignment with what council direction has been provided here today.
Okay, I appreciate that. That's
Yeah, and I've lost your wording of what you said there in regards to that section 7, but I really actually liked what you said, and I saw that Lane wrote it down, so we'll get it massaged.
Yeah, well, and like I said, I haven't looked at this to try to dictate the wording. It's the principle that we're looking for, you know, so that because we want to bring our residents along with us. So, thanks.
Do you want to get through the rest of the bylaws?
Thank you. Yeah, let's. It's 5 after 12, but we can carry on through the bylaws. So we're going to delay second reading till our next meeting. I think. Appreciate that. Okay. Let's go to 7.1. No, 7.2, bylaw for road closures, right, and lease, right? Is that, Maria, please? Yeah. Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm doing some learning back there. This is road closure bylaw 2092-25. Thank you. The purpose of this application is to close the road allowances adjacent to the east half of 311717, shown on the attached maps. This land is in Division 4, approximately 8 kilometers northwest of Bow City. The applicant would like to install a new irrigation system. That system will have the pivot irrigating over the road allowance, but there won't be any encroachment or infrastructure permanently located on the road allowance. The road closure will not impact legal access to any of the adjacent lands. There are no residential developments in the vicinity of the proposed road closure, and the applicant owns all the land surrounding the proposal. The total road allowance to be closed is 1.6 kilometers and includes 8 acres. It is recommended that Council provide second and third reading as Alberta Transportation gave their approval on March 28th. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Are there any questions? I think this is pretty straightforward. Is someone prepared to provide a motion for second reading on this bylaw? Dan, please. Thank you. All in favor, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you. And similarly, someone prepared to, Kelly, moving third reading. All in favor, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you.
We'll do the tax rate bylaw after budget. Why don't we just end with getting Jolene up here to introduce Amanda?
Okay, that's right. Okay. Okay, thanks, Matt. We will take the tax bylaw after lunch, but Jolene is here, and I think looks forward to introducing Amanda. So welcome, Jolene and Amanda.
Thank you, Council. I'm here today to present to you our newest team member, Amanda Schmidt. She will be taking on the role of the General Administrative Assistant and will be the first point of contact on phones and for front counter inquiries. She started at the end of March, the day after Joanne retired, and has been a welcome addition to our team. Amanda comes to us from Lethbridge County, where that job opportunity plus past employment opportunities have given her experience in customer service, inventory, taxes, utilities, accounting, dust abatement, and fuel management. So she's a wealth of knowledge for us. We are very excited to have her join our team, and I will turn it over to her to give her a little, to give herself an introduction about herself.
Thank you, Jolene, and welcome, Amanda. Go ahead.
Thank you. I am very excited to be a part of the team. I moved here from BC to Lethbridge about a year and a half ago, and then I started at Lethbridge County, and I was there for about 15 months. And when this opportunity came up, I knew I had to jump on it. Everybody's been so welcoming here, and I really love working here, and I plan on being a lifer. So yeah, I'm just very grateful for the opportunity, and I'm very excited to develop my career here.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Have you met everybody around the table? No. Well, let's introduce ourselves. We have met, so you go ahead, Amanda.
Welcome, Amanda. Amanda Philpott, Division 8, Duchess.
Welcome. Amanda, I'm Ellen Unruh, and I represent the Division 7 around the village of Rosemary.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to the county. Greg Screever, Division 5, Lake New Resort and Castles area.
Good morning, Amanda. I'm Kelly Chrisman, and I'm from the northwest side of the county. Welcome aboard.
Welcome.
Good morning, Adina Scandra, Division 2, the hamlet of Tilly and the surrounding area.
Hello, Amanda, and welcome aboard. I'm Dan Short from Division 1, Rolling Hills.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Lynette Kopp, Patricia Millicent area, Division 3.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for Amanda before we break for lunch? If not, again, welcome. We look forward to your contribution to our county, and welcome to the County of Newell. And we look forward to, Lethbridge County has a lot of value added, and I think you probably are bringing some of that with you, so that's good. Yeah, absolutely we are. Okay, let's break for lunch. And oh,
We are neighbors. Before we.
oh.
I live with him now.
Okay.
Yeah, we're neighbors.
So let's reconvene around 12:45 if we can, eh? Does that make sense? Yeah. past 1:45. We'll. What's that? 2, 3. Missing. We've lost some of our representation, but it will return. They will return. Yeah. Let's. I'm going to suggest we start at item number 9, administrative business, and carry through that so that we can, and then we'll deal with the tax bylaw at the end of that, and then go back to post-agenda items and the rest of the agenda later in the meeting. So call this meeting back to order. Approval of the 2025 final budget. Matt, you're going to take us through that?
Yeah, I'll take that one away. So I'm a big fan of not having surprises. So when we're at final budget territory, really we pick up where we left off with interim budget. And if council recalls, we had targeted a 2.49% increase in property tax revenue. What we've delivered to you is a 2.48% increase there on property taxes. Shannon will go into a little more detail, and I'll provide some background when we get to the property tax bylaw. This is part of council's legislated duties. You must adopt a budget for each calendar year, and you're required to have a handful of financial and capital plans, which we have provided for you in your appendices. The surprises that have come in since interim budget, you will see that the Newell Housing Foundation is reaching for a significant increase now that COVID funds have dried up. So that was a bit of a surprise to see over 100% increase on what they're looking for there. The other numbers that we've included here for you is budget estimates for the CDC South. So we've rolled in some expense lines based on the best information, which is not the best information received from Alberta Infrastructure. You'll recall some of the revenue modeling we've completed on that file. So CDC South is projected in the budget to provide a small surplus. I don't expect that's actually going to be the case year one. We are looking at doing some renovations on the Griffin building, getting that set up for occupancy September 1st. But that would be the other significant change made to the budget here. We do get updates from seniors, school requisition, designated industrial property requisition. So those are amounts that we collect on behalf of other entities, and we just forward those dollars their way. Any additional spending that council has approved since the beginning of the year made by motion, we roll in and reference those motions. Carry forward projects, so significant carry forwards, Lake Newell Resort Lift Station, which Cole spoke to this morning, the Tilly Lagoon work, and the Rural Water Project being updated at current projections there. So final budget highlights. We've talked about the revenue increase in operating expenses of 1.74. That's largely driven by the CDC estimated amounts there. As we were at day 10 on having management of the CDC, every time Todd and Candace come back from the CDC, we have identified new opportunities for cost savings or improving level of service over there. So we're optimistic that we can cut those expenses. We're motivated to do as much, and we will see where this year shakes out for us there. Yeah.
With regard to CDC, like the province has some money budgeted for maintenance and upgrading. We'll call it upgrading, but it's primarily maintenance. So if we're going to do some things at the Griffin building, do we front that and then get reimbursed from that government initiative or funding, or how is that going to, what's the flow through we'll see there?
Yeah, so there's, if council recalls, $3 million in capital, which has been approved for county to direct some work there. There is a current conversation on what do you define as capital at the provincial level and what's defined as operating. So we've got the 3 million capital and $500,000 operating, which will help grease the wheels on any of the surprises we have. We are waiting for some direction from Treasury Board, but our understanding is the county will be directing the work that happens on both the capital and the operating funding envelopes. We will be taking care of our friends in the Hargrave building. That's where ag and irrigation employees are. So there will be a number of items we get after on the Hargrave greenhouse, Griffin building. If we're really looking through rose-colored glasses, we're hoping there might be some extra funding that we might be able to squeeze an extra linear pivot or two in. So we'll see where that all shakes out. Yeah. Back to the highlights. Transfers to other organizations. We provide this for council's information so you can see all the valuable work that happens at the hands of our partners. I will caveat, City of Brooks recreation agreement is up for renewal. We have just put estimates in the budget for that as if we were carrying on under the existing agreement. So you should expect to see numbers looking different than those. We're targeting trying to have that rec agreement updated by the end of June. What else do we have here? Capital spending, making a big investment in the region, $30.7 million. Debt repayments of $111,000. Looking at taking on a little bit of debt there to support the Lake Newell Resort Community Pathway. And to get this all done, we're taking just about $11 million from our restricted surplus funds to take care of the capital side of things there. Yeah, I'll save some of the additional detail on the tax rates till we get to the tax rate bylaw. We do try and be conservative on the budget numbers. So referring back to salaries, wages, and benefits, we only budget for the positions that we're expecting to fund in the year, cost of living, and then where people are actually at on their salary grid. We keep that pretty tight. And we've been trying to get tighter on some of those other budget lines, materials, goods, and supplies, as well as contracted services. There's been a few years where we have consistently budgeted the $1 million to go towards the county EID drainage project, and we haven't actually seen those $1 million deployed. So those are sitting in our infrastructure fund. If we get to the point where work is surveyed to the extent that we could lay on the gas and get more than $1 million completed in a year, we'll be back to talk to council about that. I know they've been working down in Rolling Hills for survey, and we're hoping we can do some good work on that file. With that, I think we had a pretty great report card from our auditor this morning, meeting with some of my counterparts from the South Zone, other counties. County of Newell's the place to be. We are in a fortunate position. We're healthy on the finance side of things, but we don't let that financial health go to our heads. We try and manage a pretty tight ship when it comes to the dollars and cents spent on behalf of our ratepayers.
Thank you, Matt. Dan, you've got a question or a comment?
Question. I know we talked about with the CDC before, worst case scenario, and worst case scenario was might be $800,000 to operate that place. So there's $500,000 coming from the province, but the estimated cost is about 1.3. Does that mean we've hit? Because I believe the 800,000 was worst case scenario without government, right? Now we're at 1.3, so we've definitely hit our worst case scenario, or not? And the other one is, do we have any income coming in for CDC or any plans for that yet?
Yeah, signed the first lease agreement yesterday. We're boots on the ground trimming an old apple orchard yesterday. So the first one is signed. We have a second one for 14 and a half acres dry land, McLeod. So we're not at the worst case scenario. We're not approaching the best case scenario quite yet either. I think I would say year one is going to be likely disappointing on the financial side of things when it comes to the revenue side. Expenses, I'm optimistic that we have a lot of opportunity over at the CDC South. We've got an excellent facilities crew on the task between Todd and his team. Year one's going to be bumpy. We're going to learn a lot of lessons, but we are happy that we actually have the first lease agreement signed.
And I think, just to add to that, I mean, we just need to remind ourselves that we got this about 8 or 10 months later than we had hoped to, in terms of knowing what was coming. So they really haven't had much time to get things in place. So I think, at least I've been encouraged to hear the interest that's already there for what's really only been a few months, right? Like we till we got this signed, and we really couldn't go talking to people to say, what do you want to do there? And I got another email or a text again this morning from somebody saying, hey, what can we invest? What can we do to make it work? So I think I don't disagree. It's going to be numbers-wise disappointing this year probably, but in terms of the direction, I think it's pretty good. Or I'm optimistic, I'd say, yeah. Neil and then Kelly, please.
Yeah, my concern with CDC South was always financial. I can see it maybe being not so great this year, but that wasn't really all our fault. It was a lot of missteps by the government. But is it possible to keep like a CDC South journal, an income statement every month, so it's important council follows this along through, because we did vote to take a reasonable risk here.
Okay, thanks, Neil. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely, and we beat you to it. So CDC South, in the final budget document, if numbers are approved today, you'll see it split out on its own. So we're, as part of our agreement, required to report to the province what those costs are, because that drives what they end up funding for their share from AGI. Yeah, you'll see details.
Thank you. Kelly, go ahead.
Changing the subject for a second, I just wanted to draw council's attention to the transfers to other organizations. Almost $5 million, $450,000 are transferred to outside organizations, and those are out of our control costs largely, and that's pretty impressive. That is us supporting the community in these areas, from recreation to culture to airports to policing, and everything in between. So I think that's a pretty impressive list. That's just a comment.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly. I would agree. Any other questions or comments? If there are none, I will add too that it's good to see a positive financial report, given a few of the things that we've undertaken over the last year and years in our first term together. Namely things like the pathway and that sort of thing that the community has started to enjoy and will be able to enjoy fully in this calendar year, because we took it on and made it happen together with partners, obviously, but I think it wouldn't be where it was if we hadn't gone for it. Yeah, go ahead, Amanda.
I just want to speak on the Newell Housing Foundation's requisition. In the past, we received from our COVID funding, we started at 416,000, and 2023 it was 646,000, and we no longer get that. So we're still doing some of those protocols. So that money does have to come from somewhere, and that we are serving 356 doors. So that's pretty awesome in Brooks in the county of Newell.
Thanks, Amanda. Kelly, go ahead.
That brings me to a question. Did we have a heads up? Did Newell Housing get slammed with that drop in funding? Because it's the first we're hearing about it here, as far as I know. So I'm just wondering if anybody else had a heads up. Okay.
So we were supposed to get, I believe it was a 3-month notice that they were going to discontinue it, but we didn't get that. We got like a 1-month notice. And the other thing I just wanted to mention, to just a little more information of what she says, is that this past year, we did have COVID. I think we were on outbreak status, so that meant that there had to be extra cleaning and extra PPE worn by staff. That again was not, because we're not being funded for that anymore. That was money that Newbrook Lodge had to put out itself. So that's just some of the, even though the government isn't providing funding anymore, they're still putting out those reasons that you have to do it.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? I would entertain a motion to approve the 2025 final budget if someone is so inclined. Go ahead, Kelly.
I'm happy to approve the budget as presented. It's a small increase, and it's a relevant increase. So moved.
Thank you. All in favor, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you. Excellent. With that, let's move on to item number 9.2, the sale of municipal reserve parcel from Bow City. Maria, please. Welcome back.
Thank you. Just prepare myself here. So the county received a request to purchase a portion of municipal reserve within the hamlet of Bow City. The specific area that they're interested in is the portion that's east of Bow City. They are interested in developing the parcel to provide rental opportunities for visitors and for personal use. This isn't the first time that I have received this request. So I've received inquiries from adjacent landowners, 2 different landowners. And Lane actually received another inquiry not that long ago. Generally what has happened is I'll tell them what the process is to get this land available for sale, and then they stop here. However, the most recent inquiry has led to, a formal request from council. This land is currently zoned Special Parks and Public Service. And then the lots in the hamlet are all residential with the exception of the very first lot is zoned business. There are 2 municipal reserve parcels in Bow City. So lot 24 MR, which is shown in orange, that's this one here, yep, is 0.6 acres located between the residential properties adjacent to the river. Oh, sorry, I'm on the wrong map here. Do you want me? Oh, okay. So that would allow public access to the river. There we go. I should have made those colors the same on each map. My apologies. Lot 23 MR, which is in yellow, is a 5.77 acre parcel that includes 4 acres on the east side of the hamlet, approximately, 0.7 acre portion located between the residential parcels on the north side of the hamlet, and a 1.1 acre strip across the north boundary of the hamlet. The portion of the hamlet that is east of Highway 539 was subdivided in 1983. The total amount of land subdivided was 34.8 acres. The municipal reserve required for a subdivision of that size today would have been 3.48 acres, which is 10% of the land to be subdivided. The combination of an environmental reserve and municipal reserve taken at the time of subdivision in 1983 was 12.02 acres. So there's a lot of reserve available in Bow City. The historical files do not indicate the reason for the amount of reserve that was taken. The files indicate that there is an EID drain that runs along the north portion of the hamlet. The land containing the drain was taken as MR at the time of subdivision. However, that land might be better suited as a public utility lot or as a utility right-of-way, which was the original subdivision or condition of the subdivision approval. So I'm not sure why it's MR, but the use is there still. So I guess the question is, would council consider selling a portion of the municipal reserve? If so, the procedure would be that we need to post a sign on the parcel for the removal of the MR. We'd have to have a public hearing. At that point, council can make the decision to remove the municipal reserve designation. And then prior to sale, my recommendation would be that this yellow portion be subdivided into 3 lots. One would be on the east side. One would be that yellow portion that comes down between the residential areas. And then one would be that long strip along the north boundary that has the EID drain. So I guess that's the question. Should council want to look at removing the MR, then at that point we can set the terms of the sale. There are requirements within the MGA and county policy that allows for the sale of county-owned land. You can sell to one party if it is market value. The market value that was provided by the assessor for 4 acres is $68,200. The other option would be to put it to tender because there have been interested parties other than just that one person. Currently, there is a lot along the river that's for sale in Bow City. It's vacant. There has been work done, so it is built ready. That is for sale for an asking price of $165,000, and it's 1.5 acres. So that's something to consider as well. It's been for sale for a little while. So I guess to get the ball rolling, I think we should remove them. If council wishes, we could work towards removing the municipal reserve and then go from there.
Thanks, Maria. Are there any questions or perspectives on this? Go ahead, Neil.
Yeah, I think those were decent numbers as far as sale goes, and I think we should sell them because we could probably do more with that money somewhere else. I think it's a good opportunity.
Okay, thanks. Go ahead, Greg.
My thought is it's significantly undervalued at $68,000. We're talking riverfront. And how many acres are in that yellow, east side yellow spot? 4 acres. That can be resold. Someone could buy that for $60,000 and resell that thing for triple. So I don't know. I think we're undervaluing it as far as assessor value. I think a proper market evaluation needs to be done on that as to what realistically it would sell for.
I think, thanks, Greg. I think that there are some options here. Like the $16,000, that's what was offered for it. Go ahead, Maria, please.
That is what the assessor put on that property.
On the value. Okay.
Yeah. So there's also more work that would have, or more costs that could that would be incurred, I suppose, prior to being able to sell.
Right.
So one of them would be a septic suitability study should be done to ensure that it can be used for residential purposes. And it would also have to be subdivided so that that east portion is separate from those other lots. So there would be some cost involved with that as well.
And then we typically, I think you asked the question whether we would sell it to an individual. I think putting it up for tender makes more sense because we need to give everybody an opportunity probably. But, and if we can put that land available on the market to someone's good use, that's better than it just sitting there, I think. Lynette, please.
I guess I just wanted some clarification. Are we talking about selling everything that's in yellow, or was this pieces of it to try and get to an appropriate amount of MR because there was so much MR put aside?
I'm just going to bring up the second map. So this is what I would propose our council consider for a subdivision. So the parcel that's on the east side would be one parcel that could be available for sale. Then that teal strip, I guess, that's about 1.5 acres. That's where there's an EID drain. And I think that should be its own lot that could stay municipal reserve or be changed to a public utility lot. And then that orange section, I suppose the reasoning behind that orange piece being MR was to provide access to the drain. However, I think there is access from the road, from the west portion of the road. So that could also be considered as sellable potentially if council wanted it. There is a lot of vacant lots there, but if you're going through the process of removing the municipal reserve, you could add that one in and see what happens in the future, potentially. And then that 4 acres, there is a low area on the east side, and you can see it's kind of a green circle. And then there are ditches in there as well, so it looks like they've tried to get water off of, I don't know who they is, but they've tried to drain some water. But I walked out there yesterday, and there are some buildable locations as far as I can see from, my limited knowledge.
Thanks, Maria. Go ahead, Lynette.
Right now, the way it's being taken care of, does the county go out there and do any mowing? Like, are we spending money on any of these pieces right now?
Go ahead, Maria.
The MR is actually currently fenced, and as far as, it looks like there's nothing being done on a regular basis. I know there was discussions with the landowner to the north where they requested that the county deal with some trees. So that was done, but there's not regular maintenance. The grass is just growing. There was a lease agreement at one time for someone to have horses in that pasture, and also an agreement with, I think, the landowner to the north to allow their cows to graze it. The fencing is really not in great condition, and in the files there are some complaints about animals getting out, and it's actually not really a use that can happen on a municipal reserve parcel, so now it's just vacant.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Someone have direction for us? I guess the initial first step would be to subdivide and get it ready for sale, right? No, to change it from MR to saleable lot, hey? Go ahead.
So I guess because this initiated from a specific person requesting, I think it would be fair for council to decide if they would sell to that person directly. And if not, then you could follow the tender route. So that maybe should be a decision that's made so I can give direction to that one person. And if council wishes to go forward with the sale, then the direction would be to start advertising the removal of the MR and start the public consultation process.
Okay, thank you. Greg and then Neil.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to proceed with the tender rather than so that the person that approached us knows what our intention is with it. And then after that, proceed with the separating out for the MR. That's what my...
Okay, thank you.
Or the subdivision, I mean.
Neil, you've got a comment or a question before we vote on this?
Yeah, I agree with the tender, but to your other point there, and Greg's point, before we get too wrapped up in this, could we have an appraiser have a look at those lots and get us some real definite numbers? Like even before it's subdivided, just kind of an estimate, because those lots, like you say, maybe they're worth 3 times as much, maybe they're worth 1/3 as much. And there's no sense us getting too revved up over a land sale that's going to be nothing, in my opinion. But I agree with the motion.
Okay, thanks, Lynette, and then Dan.
Do we not have to keep any of that land as MR? I thought that through the MGA, you have to have a certain amount, or that's only when you're doing the subdividing.
Go ahead, Maria, please.
When you're subdividing, MPC can request up to 10%. So that is a requirement for parks, schools, different things like that. In this case, there is, so if you go to the other map, but we can stay on this one, it's okay. Just south of that orange lot, there's a strip between 2 residential parcels that goes to the river. That is also municipal reserve. So that's a little bit. And then there's also the environmental reserve, which goes between those south lots and the river, which would go towards that reserve amount. If in the future things are booming, you know, coal, I don't know, and the school is needed, there is land that the county owns on the other side of the highway that can be used for those purposes as well.
Okay, thank you. Dan.
So my question was going to be if we go, whatever this path is for sure that we've chosen to go down, and we end up subdividing, who's going to bear those costs? Is that going to be something we can pass on to the potential buyer, or is that something that we have to eat? Or is that so far down the road, we don't want to talk about that yet?
Go ahead, Maria.
My recommendation would be if you're selling to one person, that person be responsible for the market value plus subdivision and any studies that are required. If you go the tender route, then I think that the county fronts those costs and then place a minimum bid on the tender process or the auction or however you want to go that way.
Okay, thank you. So we've got a motion on the floor to indicate that if we're going to sell, it's going to be by tender, and to initiate the process of removing the municipal reserve from the designation on that yellow portion and the orange portion, right? Okay. That was the motion. Dan?
Just remembered one more question. The easement for the utility for the ditch does not carry on into the proposed yellow. Is that an oversight, or that's planned? That's on purpose?
Go ahead. Yeah.
That is neither, maybe. We could continue it north. However, I think the intention of that drain is maybe one day to help service those north lots. So I don't know that there's a reason to continue it all the way to the, to the adjacent parcel, but it's a good thing that we look into that prior to designing any subdivision lots, I think. Yeah, it's a good point.
Okay, thanks. Ellen?
Just to clarify, when we speak about tender, is that a secret bid, or can that be still sold at the open market?
I understand that to be a bid where interested parties would designate an amount they would be willing to pay. I mean, we can still set a minimum amount, at which point anything less we wouldn't accept a sale. But it would be a silent tender, I would think, unless it's an auction, I guess. Either option, we could have an auction. That would give everybody, or the highest bidder, the opportunity to buy it, basically, yeah. So, all in favor of the motion, please indicate. Okay, that's carried. So that provides a direction, but there's specifics that still will need to be worked out. But thank you, Maria.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's go on to item number 9.3, which is a support for the upgrade of secondary highway 873 from the city of Brooks south boundary to Kinbrook Island Provincial Park access road. Matt, please. Oh, Lane, sorry. Yeah. Welcome, Lane.
So really all I did was prepare the report that's on the agenda for you. This is the result of a conversation that Reeve Dirksen had with Alberta Transportation on April 1st, I believe it was.
That's right, yeah.
So it's just there for council to act upon.
Right. On April 1st, the Transportation Minister was in Brooks for the opening of the beginning, or at JBS to celebrate the beginning of the province's commitment to building the JBS access road. And the minister did speak to me about Highway 873, was interested to know whether we would want to just put a new top on it or whether it needed to be widened. And I said I expected it needs to be widened, but that is council's decision. And I think that's what we need to decide today. We do have a scheduled Zoom meeting with the minister later next week on Tuesday, at which point I think we would indicate our preference. And prior to this setting up this meeting, I thought we'd be sending a letter, but I think we'll wait and speak. Well, maybe we'll send a letter anyway, but depending on our direction. Go ahead, Kelly, please.
Reeve, I have a question around that announcement and obviously this conversation. Was that an open, I didn't receive an invitation to that presentation. Did anybody else? I'm just wondering if that was a closed session.
Oh.
I would just like to know.
Yeah, Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, no, not closed. It was pulled together by Alberta Transportation at, I would say, beyond the 11th hour.
Yeah, that's right.
It was disappointing that, I'll
more
leave it at that.
Yeah, I guess it's oversight on my part maybe, or that we could have circulated the fact that it was happening. It came rather quickly. I think it had a couple of days' notice ahead of time. Maybe, was it? Maybe a little more. I don't know. Yeah.
873.
Okay, what is your preference, Neil?
I would like to move that we recommend widening with as wide a shoulders as we could get for 873.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Ellen, please.
Now, this is a provincial road, right? Is there an expectation from Alberta Transportation that we partner in some way? No?
We haven't indicated that we would, or that, nor has it been asked. But just for an FYI, we did visit with the minister during RMA. We had a meeting with the minister specifically about Highway 873, and that we saw it as a priority to get done, and he was quite open to consider it. So I guess this is just the next steps. Are we ready for a question? All in favor that we widen 873 when it's rebuilt? That's carried. Thank you. Councillor payment sheets, is there any questions or comments required there? Or a motion to approve councillor payment sheets as presented? Adina. All in favor, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. Requests for functions of council, Canada Day in Rosemary on July 1st. Someone prepared to make a motion with regard to that? Go ahead, Kelly. I don't know if we've had to do that
I don't think
before.
we do that. I mean, you're invited, and if
Yeah.
you're not able to go, you send a replacement.
Typically, that's
and-
right. I don't know that that needs to be a function
No,
of
I don't
council. I don't
think
think it
so.
has been. Ellen?
However, I think, has it not been tradition that obviously it's my area, so that belongs on me, but if it is the reeve that goes, does that person not get reimbursed? That's what I thought, yeah.
Yeah, the reeve does, and if I go and choose to walk with Ellen or something like that, I would not get paid. I mean, it's just one of those things that we
Yeah.
do. Yeah, but the reeve,
Okay.
you can go to anything.
And
you
I,
want.
yeah, I expect this came on because there was an official invitation from the Village of Rosemary for us to attend, and it was extended to everyone on council, but specifically the parade for the reeve, I guess, in this case, yeah. Neil?
Yep, it's a function of, I mean, half of us have, there's something in Tilly, something in Dutchess probably, something in Rosemary, there's something in Brooks. They should all be functions of council, shouldn't they?
Haven't been in the past.
Haven't? Okay. I'm okay with that one way or another.
I think there's a differential in terms of travel to a function like that. The time is not covered, but I think councillors' travel to functions outside of home is covered. Yeah, and taken for granted, right? That doesn't need to be considered a function of council. It's time to travel. So we'll take that off. One less decision to make today. Okay. McHappy Day, also an invitation. This should be a function of council, I think, if someone is prepared to go. It hasn't? Okay.
And we also, that's a council meeting day as well, so.
Okay. So, it'll be McHappy. So I guess we can just have, yeah, can somebody, maybe not. Yeah, well, do we need to assign someone to go to that, or just, it'll take care of itself, I think, eh? Okay. Yeah, good. Okay, with that, we are
It's fun.
on to, let's go back to, yeah, the tax rate bylaw. Where is that one? 7.3, right, thank you. Okay, first reading of the tax rate bylaw. Shannon, welcome.
Hi, all right, so tax rate bylaw 2099-25. This is also an annual thing. So the bylaw is to impose taxes on property within the county, which covers the budget that you guys just passed. So highlights from my RFD, taxable assessment values increased by $382 million this year over last year. The 2025 tax rates have been adjusted to capture some of that growth, which provided an additional $817,000 in municipal tax revenues compared to last year's budget. It's already been brought up, but the Newell Foundation was quite an adjustment this year, but we kind of already covered all of that, so I don't need to go into that. And I think that's about it for highlights that I wanted to cover. I'm just looking for first reading, this one please. Second and third will be next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or someone prepared to make a motion? Sorry? Oh, Matt, go ahead, please. Yeah, thanks.
Just I'll offer up a little bit of a tax rate report card for this council since 2021, when you have taken your seat, and you're not responsible for the tax rates in 2021, but we started there. So 2022 to 2025, Your residential rate, 21, was 4.2276. This year's proposed is 3.64. That's a decrease of 13.9% from 21. Your small business rate, 2021, was 6.8983. In this tax rate bylaw, it's coming in at 6.1875, representing a decrease of 10.3% over that time period. Your farmland rate, and this was purposeful, you started at 7.5248, and we've been gradually increasing that farmland tax rate over time in an effort to fund more of our ag service budget from that assessment pool. So you started 7.52, we're at 8.8552. There's no proposed change to the farmland tax rate in this bylaw. That's an increase of 17.7% since 2021. And then the last is your non-residential tax rate. Came in at 8.9981 in 2021, and we're shaking out at 8.25 in the 2025 tax rate bylaw. So that represents a decrease in that tax rate of 8.3%. So I think we largely expected this outcome with linear assessment coming home from holidays. And I think it's a good news story for our ratepayers.
Thank you. That is notable, and it's good to know and good for us to be aware of. I appreciate the information, Matt, and it looks good on a graph too, except the farmland increase, but go ahead, Neil.
Yeah, I think we should bake some political hay with that. Those are excellent numbers. It's too bad Sandra wasn't still here, but let's spread that around. That's excellent.
It's going to be careful making hay. If it rains, it'll mold, so yeah. Okay, that is notable, and if we've got a motion, no, we need a motion on the floor. Dina, please.
I'd like to make a motion, we give first reading to the tax rate bylaw
Okay.
as presented.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor, please indicate. And I would say as well, I would congratulate and express appreciation to our staff for the good work that you've done over the years to get us to where we're at today. I think it's not something to be taken for granted, as has been discussed today, and in consideration of a number of the initiatives that we have been able to participate in over the last few years. It's a credit to a strong organization prior to the last 3 years, but we want to keep it that way, and we appreciate staff's efforts to keep us in good shape and keep us on the road that keeps moving up. So thank you. Thanks, Shannon. Appreciate it. Greg, please.
Matt, those numbers you came up with, are they in our package here?
They're not, but it's all a function of capacity, and I will scan this and I'll send it out to councillors, and Sandra did take a photo of this before leaving. I said, I've got your headline for you. Just ignore the farmland increase. And
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks. Kelly, go ahead.
Interesting, that $30 minimum tax that we put in about 8 years ago brings in $29,000. That represents 967 properties that are under the $30 tax bracket. That's a lot of small pieces of land with title. Interesting. Increase that.
Lots of little farmland pieces, eh? Okay, let's move on to 11, which is pardon me. Letter of support implementing a boat dip tank technology invasive species prevention. Matt, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so I'll introduce this as a follow-up item that administration has received from the Southwest Mayors and Reeves meeting that was held April 4th, 2025. Apparently, our MP was there talking about some of the work He's completed on the aquatic invasive species file, and there was a technology that is being touted as an additional preventative measure in our quest to keep mussels out of our water bodies. In your package, you will see there is a form letter. It sounded like there was strong support from the mayors and reeves to, now that the province has allocated some funds towards this initiative over the next 5 years, to strike while the iron is hot and let the province know that from municipalities' point of view, when it comes to drinking water, municipal water supply infrastructure, and specifically in the county's case where we would like to see irrigation expanded, to do that we need to make sure the water infrastructure stays in tip-top shape, and keeping these mussels out is part of that. So the letter that you'll see in your package speaks, it's addressed to the Premier's office, CC'd to the Ministers of Environment, Transportation, Agriculture, and Irrigation, encouraging them to adopt boat dip tank technology. And I think there's a couple of different ways to get at what that might look like, as well as encouraging further research into natural predators or chemical controls in the unfortunate event if these things make it into our water body. So that is there for your consideration. And I know Reeve Dirksen was the man in the room. He could provide any additional background you're looking for.
Right. This letter was requested from the mayors and reeves meeting, and with appreciation that Martin Shields was there to raise the importance of this, the profile of this issue together with myself. So the recommendation is that we sign this and send it off to the Premier and the province and the appropriate ministers, and provide a lead on this issue where it's needed. We need a Neil?
Everybody's shy today. I make that motion.
Thanks, Neil. Any further discussion? All in favor, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you. Thanks, Neil.
11.2 FCM.
11.2, yes, FCM. Kelly, go ahead, please.
All right. Well, I am going to FCM this year, as is Lynette, and I did some research into a director position for Alberta. And it is an election position. So if this council approved my running for this position, and ultimately the expense of me running for the position, not the expense of me running, but going to the meetings, because there is a commitment by county council that you would pay that. I would let my name stand, but it is a resolution or a motion from this council. I hope you had time to look into FCM and what the director position entails. I've done some homework. I did call Cypress County and talk to one counselor there, because they did have a counselor in the past sit on as a director. And so I do have some firsthand knowledge. What the benefits would be for the county, totally unknown at this time. It would be a learning curve. It's a one-year election, and then next year, if we decided to do it again, the election would be for a 2-year term. But the 1 year would give us time to see if we like what is coming back from FCM. I mean, I'm going to be reporting to you as I do with all other conventions that I go to, but it would be an ongoing report as information comes in, right? Questions, comments, concerns?
Okay, thanks, Kelly. Greg?
Yeah, just to start, I think it would be important and a benefit to the area if you did decide to, and a council decides that it's something that you should do. I'm encouraged that maybe we could have some say on the national level with respect to being on that, someone from this area being on that board. I'm just wondering what are we talking about as far as money commitment? I know it's a 1 year and then a 2 year. Any idea what the cost will be for sending you as far as the council is concerned about?
So in conversation with that counselor from Cypress County, he averaged, his estimate was 10 hours a week average, but it's not going to be like that. It's going to be clumped up. There'll be Zoom meetings. There'll be 3 face-to-face. They prepare us in the documents for 3 face-to-face over the year. So that would be added to an expense. There would be flights, hotels, and time involved. So it's not a small bill. I can be straight up with you. It is something that I recognized 12 years ago when I first went to FCM. Ellen's rolling her eyes because she's heard this before. It was my experience the first time I went to FCM. How would you know that you want to step forward to a bigger platform in the way that we do it here at the county? You get to go once every 4 years. The same people are not at the convention the next time you go 8 times out of 10, right? Because there's been an election already. So my interest was peaked 12 years ago. I'll be honest with you. And there was really no way to test the water without jumping in.
Okay, thanks, Kelly. Neil, and then Ellen, and then Greg.
Yeah, I totally support the FCM thing on multiple levels, especially the shape our country's in right now. It's good for us to be out there nationally. If it costs a little bit of money, that's what it costs. You can't go to it for free. So, yeah, I'm totally supportive of Kelly running and us having a look at sending people to FCM on a yearly basis.
Okay, thanks, Ellen. Go ahead.
I was not rolling my eyes. I was just looking up in the sky. Anyway, just a question. You said 3 meetings face-to-face. They possibly could be in Ontario or wherever, but are standard meetings always done by Zoom, or will they also be across the country?
What they talk about are the 3 standard meetings, and then I would suggest if I was to get on committee meetings, they would be done by Zoom. And again, I would definitely let you know. This wouldn't be a blind. I would be able to keep you up to date monthly as to what my travel plans would be, for sure. And the information coming back as to when my next travel plan would be. Sorry, I don't have a better answer.
Okay, I think that I'm going to suggest something in addition to this, or aside. It doesn't have to relate to this exactly, but I think that council should consider changing the approach that we take to FCM. And I think we hear it in the wording that you get to go once in 4 years. I don't think we get to go anywhere, and we shouldn't be. It shouldn't be viewed that way. It should be, you go in there for a purpose. And for that reason, I think we should seriously consider sending at least a delegation every year. And if, as some have indicated, some counties leave it open for all of any of their councillors to go on a regular basis. And I think if, in terms of making a difference, if that, and then we go very deliberately to make a difference. And what is it we're going to go there for? Because whether it's RMA or any other set of meetings, there's times when you go just because you need to have a presence there, but I think it's important that we know why we're doing these things, that we're going to improve the area somehow on behalf of all of our ratepayers. And is there an expense? Yes, there's an expense, but that's how you make a difference. So I think that doesn't need to be decided today, but I think we should give serious consideration to changing the approach to how we do this next year. And I guess that is a budget issue if we deal with it, marginal in a context of where we're at. So sorry, that's an aside. Sorry, Greg? Oh, did I forgot to go to you.
Yeah, that's
before I
okay.
started my ramble. Yeah.
You remembered my name, which is good.
Yeah, Mr. Screever.
So Kelly, just to get understanding on the cost again, so it's the travel time and things like that. Now, would the county be paying for the hours that you're putting into, or is there money coming from FCM to sit on the board? So this would be encumbered by the total cost would be encumbered by the county. Would that be right?
As far as I know, that is correct. The counselor from Cypress County was under the impression that RMA paid for their counselor. So I did make a call to Jason Schneider, but he hasn't returned my call. But I would certainly look for support from RMA. If Jason calls me back, I will get that clarified. I certainly wouldn't double dip, but for sure, if there's other funding, it won't be coming from here.
Okay, thanks. Lynette, please.
I'm totally in support of doing this. We have talked about needing more rural voices on FCM, and I think Kelly would be a good representative for that. Also, I guess just a request, I know that when Cypress County had their counselor on, some of their complaint was the fact that then he was absent from a lot of other things. So just an endeavor to be present still here, like zooming in on meetings and such like that, so that you're not leaving your constituents here without a voice.
Right. I don't see this as a full-time job, but I also heard that there was no reporting coming back. And then when the counselor did come back, there was a request to reopen things that had already been done. So there was a step back, and I will not question your decision if I was to be absent. That just would not be my style.
Okay. Thank you. Are we looking for a vote, or just basically condoning or supporting your initiative to?
Eventually, I will need a resolution. Do you want time to think about it? I do have the draft. I thought I did. Maybe it didn't bring it. Oh, yes, here it is. I do have the draft, a template resolution if you're ready for it, but.
When is the decision?
It has to hit their table, but no later than May 11th. So it is a month away.
Then either we decide today or the next meeting, I guess.
Yeah.
Whatever is. Should we put it on the agenda for the next meeting? And that, I have to say, I haven't had a chance, or haven't taken the time to look at the details, but I'm supportive of you.
Do you want to read the motion and then see if it triggers any problems?
Okay, the resolution, be it resolved that council endorse an elected official to stand for election on FCM's Board of Directors for the period starting June 2025 and ending June 2026. And further be it resolved that council assumes all costs associated with the cost of attending FCM's Board of Directors meetings. So this is a one-year term and then a two-year term?
That's right. What they did, they made a change this year so that half the country is going on as a two-year director, and the other half is going on as a one-year director, and this is new this year.
And Alberta's representative to this position will be voted on in Toronto this in June.
Exactly, at the AGM.
Okay.
And there's no proxy voting. It's all in person
Right, it's the people
voting.
in person.
Yeah.
They did that in Calgary last year, which was the one that I've been to, so, yeah. Okay, well, what's your preference? You want to deal with it today or our next meeting? Go ahead.
I'd like to deal with it today because it's only 2 o'clock and you never know what might happen next meeting. So let's just deal with it right now and,
Okay. Go ahead, Dan.
I'm with her. Let's deal with it today. But one quick question, and I think I know the answer, but we're going to have our own municipal election in the middle of that term. Yeah, so if you were to lose your spot on this seat, you automatically lose your spot on FCM, right?
I believe so.
I would assume. I
would
can't see it going
assume
any
so,
other way.
too.
Okay.
Okay, someone make a motion that we support Kelly's initiative. Go ahead, Lynette.
I'll make that motion to support Kelly's running for FCM director.
Okay, all in favor, please indicate. That's carried, thank you. Okay, that's good. All the best. You're on the campaign trail.
Buttons, erasers.
water bottles with your face on
Yeah.
it, passing it around at the conference.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You gotta do all that.
Okay, are there any questions regarding the information items presented? Are there any questions in the public for the council this afternoon? How about in the gallery? No, none in the gallery? Hey, a motion to go in camera would be, go ahead, Ellen. All in favor that we go in camera? That's carried, thank you.